Live stream.
It's probably hear me do that stupid shit.
We are live.
Yes, we are. We're live right now.
We are live. Oh,
So yeah, long time no talk to Phil. It's been a minute, and we're on the air for comic. Not I was Comic Corner. Holy shit, I haven't said that in a while.
it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a few. Like, I think. Excuse me, everyone. I'm just exhausted. Yeah, it's been. Last time we talked was like I think right before playoffs. From our correctly for the NFL.
I think so.
Something like that.
Boy, if not further back, even it might have even for
because I was trying to be nice.
Shows. I think for me, the last time I was on might have been during the regular season last year. Even in fact, I think it was because
I
was talking about. I was talking about Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua. I remember their fight, and
oh God, wow, yeah,
sure we'll
be. That's a while ago.
We'll get to him. I'm sure we'll get to Usyk a little later with that boxing news. I'm sure we'll get to that a little later. But I mean, it's March Madness time, man. Today's the day. Today's the day when people started to get their brackets filled out, and that's what I'll be doing. We're done. That's what I'll be doing.
The most bet thing on sport in sports history, more than the Super Bowl, is an NCAA college basketball tournament.
Oh my God. I mean, the money I would love. I'm going to have to check one day the increase over the years of just the amount of gambling done during March Madness. It's got to be exponentially bigger, especially over the last 10, 15 years, I would say, if not maybe even 20 years.
Now you're doing side bets at work, and also you're doing side bets at like a casino on your phone.
All the pools, all the bets, all the way up to the end, And
God, it's like, I'm guilty of that.
That would be a sight in itself. I would love to park my ass at any sports book in Las Vegas that first weekend, especially the first 2 Thursday and Friday. I would love,
especially considering Fridays. Usually, one of the games, it's always more fun when the game's on St. Patrick's Day and you can drink a lot more.
Yes, and there's always upsets, even if it's just one or two, and that must be itself, especially the all-day people at the sports book.
I mean, if I didn't have to work both days, oh God, I would pay to watch that. I love watching blackjack tables enough. I mean, I would love to watch that.
Get a seat at the top of the sports book. Get a cigar, maybe an edible. It's a day, and it's with the way this you and me were talking before we went on the air about the bracket being announced. I mean, there's like every year the selection committee usually is able to come through with interesting matchups, not really involving the top seeds. It's always the 6-11 games, the 7-10 games,
5-12.
The 5-12s, yes. Those games always seem to be the most interesting games, and sometimes the toughest ones to pick, because those make the difference as far as the rest of your bracket where you have everything else going. And I love this. I love this. The first weekend is always one of the better sporting events of the calendar, in my opinion. That first weekend when everything goes crazy, because it usually does. I can't remember a year where at least in recent time, I can't remember a year where everything's gone to plan. There hasn't been at least one shocking upset. I mean, we had I believe it was last year, we had a 15 seed go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Fantastic entertainment.
Well, it's also because you can't really game plan for there's 500,000 colleges and universities that are D1 schools for basketball.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell you can game plan for them all.
That's right.
And there's sometimes some teams have a little gimmick that works for them, and it's like, hey, that's how they won their tournament, and it's like, hey, we can try this on a bigger team if it works.
Sure.
And sometimes the size is just too much. Size, speed, of the system is too much, but sometimes it's not.
And to me, you can never underestimate a little school that's just so happy to be there, that motivation in itself against a team that's supposed to be there and looking ahead to, oh, who are we playing on? Who are we going to play on Saturday? Or, oh, where are we going next weekend for the 16? And that's how a lot of these upsets, I think, happen mentally. Why?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's how a lot of this stuff happens.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I know it was last year, but it was a couple of years. I forgot what year it was. It was like when team was like a 14 seed, and they were beating like Iowa and like big name schools by like 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like
how
the last second heroics.
How about 20? The most famous one, I believe it was 2017 with UMBC, the only 16 beating Virginia, the overall one, and beating them by 20.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that was them, and then they won the next round too.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that stuff, it just sneaks up on you, but it's great when it does, and it makes the whole thing more exciting because you just never know who is going to fall victim to it.
And then we see the hole in the ozone layer because everyone's burning the brackets.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've done that. I've had to do that a couple of times where on the first or second day, I'll just rip it up after. It's trashed so much that it's over. It's over.
Well, and the crazy thing too nowadays, it's even less predictable because like there's guys. I mean, like look at the number one overseed this year in Alabama.
Yep.
Where were they 5 years ago?
Exactly. And not only that, but even if we're just looking at this year, ever since the Brandon Miller involvement in the shooting incident down there, they haven't exactly been. They did improve greatly during the SEC tournament, but they haven't exactly been. They haven't exactly been playing great. I mean, they're vulnerable. I don't think they're going to lose to the 16 seed, which is A&M, Corpus Christi, or Southeast Missouri State. Whoever wins that play-in game, I got in front of me. I got the bracket on my screen, but I think they're vulnerable. Alabama, they're very vulnerable, in my opinion, as far as a one seed that could go down. Maybe the opening weekend, Maryland, West Virginia, they'd be playing the winner of that, and I'm still kind of surprised West Virginia even got in 19-14, even in the best conference in college basketball. 19-14 ain't exactly a tournament record.
No, not
tournament worthy record, but I'm not on the committee.
Yeah, I swear some of these committees are a joke. I really do. But like I said, like
what it is that to this day they just still do not really like the mid-majors and the little conferences, and that's why they have a limited number of bids for those teams, and they kind of pigeonhole themselves because they have so many seeds dedicated to the major conferences that, well, I mean, that's how the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC or the big, every year, at least one of those conferences gets like 8 or 9 teams in. I mean, that seems at a certain level, that seems unfair. Especially if a team, West Virginia being a good example, 19-14. I mean, you really could find a smaller conference team with a great record. That I remember one year, UW Green Bay, being a Wisconsin guy, I remember one year they were 27-5 in the regular season and conference tournament. They didn't win their conference tournament, and they ended up in the NIT.
UB was a
league is not a good conference. I get it, but 27-5, and I think there were at least 1 or 2 teams that year from a major conference that were 18-13 or something like, really.
Well, the RPI is the equivalent of the BCS.
Well, that's yes, and they take that. That's kind of the trump card, the ace in the hole for the committee to go. Well, they had an RPI of, or for Green Bay, using that example I just used, their RPI was not good that year, obviously, because they weren't playing stellar competition. But
these teams won't play them.
That too, and that's why I'm actually glad that College of Charleston ended up getting in at 31-3 this year. Yeah, they're in the CAA. That's not, going to set the world on fire, but I'm glad they got in, even as a 12.
Yeah, I mean, did
Even
they
as
win
a
their
12.
term? Did they win their
I
tournament?
believe they did. So then they would have got
Okay.
anyway. But to be honest, even if they hadn't won their tournament and they were 30-4, I mean, come on.
You got for 30, you got 30 wins. You should be in. I guarantee your RPI is probably like 12.
Yeah, it's probably and for Charleston, I mean, that's going to be an interesting one. They get San Diego State on Thursday. That could be interesting. That could
I wouldn't.
I have kind of my eye on.
I would be nervous. I was over the San Diego State.
I would too, because San Diego State, they have a tendency, they're kind of like Virginia in that they're not a high scoring team. They play real defensive basketball. They get caught in a low scoring close game. Yeah, they could lose. And Virginia, speaking of them, they get Furman.
If you too, Phil.
Virginia only scored 49 last night against Duke in that conference title game. So Tony Bennett better have a real good plan heading into Thursday. Just saying. I don't think they're set, but you always got to be on the lookout with them.
I was going to joke and say he used to do a really good show in Vegas, like 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the rest of the South region, where Bama is the 1 seed. Arizona is a number 2. That makes sense. Baylor is a 3. I mean, they usually get it pretty right. A lot of people will be, I'm sure a lot of the experts and analysts and whatnot will be wondering about North Carolina State getting in at 23-10. They were on the bubble for the last couple of weeks. I don't know enough specifics to really say one way or the other. I was surprised. I will admit, I was surprised they got in, because all the bracketology from Lenardi and all the other the guys from CBS and ESPN and all the other guys didn't seem like they were going to. So that one might be interesting as far as whether people think somebody got screwed. That's the other.
Well, yeah, you mentioned UWGB. It was like the year University of Buffalo was like they lost at a tip-in in like my junior year of college, and it was actually at that game at the MAC championship game in like double overtime, and their RPI was amazing. They were like 30th in the nation.
I think I remember that year.
2005, I think it was.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
And everyone was saying, "How did they get in?" Yes, it's the MAC. It's not the powerhouse. It's not the SEC.
There it is.
And that shit happened, and it was just, I was like,
yeah, I mean, they do need to get at least college football has caught on over the years to that fact that the mid majors and the smaller conferences do have a contribution. Now, that's a totally different discussion we can have, considering the whole playoff system and everything. Mid majors do at least have a seat at the table, so to speak. More so, college basketball.
Am I the head of the table if they get a seat at the table? Am I the head of the table?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Joe's cool with me using it. It's okay.
I know about that, but yeah, and let's see, I'm checking out the Midwest, where Houston was the 1 seed. Obviously, they were going to be. I'm a little surprised. I'm looking right now. Indiana at 22-11 as a 4. I have to assume sweeping Purdue had something to do with that. Because an 11-loss 4 seed is pretty interesting. I have to assume they get the wins against Purdue and other what do they call them, quad 1 wins. I have to assume that had something to do with it, but that's another one that I'm zeroing in on as an interesting game, and one that I may end up picking an upset with, because they get Kent State 28-6, and a lot of talk for Kent State. I was just talking to my brother before the brackets were announced, and he was telling me about them and how people are actually predicting upset already with them because they've lost all 5 of their 6 losses. Apparently, were teams with 20 or more wins. They're a what are they? An under the radar quality team, but because they're in a smaller conference, obviously that's why they get 13 seed. That's why I got to think that could be the potential because Indiana, they didn't, I'm a Big Ten guy, so I get to see a lot more of this stuff. They did not, for a team of 22-11. Okay, I don't think they should be a 4. I didn't get the feeling that they were as impressive as people are making them out to be. I could be wrong. I don't know. And I could definitely see an upset in that. That could be a 13 upsetting a 4. It usually happens at least once every year. And that could be at least one of them this year. Because, that one's kind of interesting to me, to be quite honest. Go down to the rest of that bracket. And I gotta admit, A&M, Texas A&M, being a Wisconsin guy, I'm happy for Buzz Williams, SEC Coach of the Year. He's done a great job there. I was happy to see them get in. And just looking at that, I mean, it's more than likely going to be Texas A&M on Saturday, a week from yesterday. That's kind of interesting how that worked out. I know they're not in the same conference anymore, but geez.
It's awfully convenient.
That is pretty crazy how that could end up working out. Penn State got in at they're playing A&M on Thursday. I was kind of curious after they lost to Purdue whether or not they were going to get in. 22-13 in the Big Ten. Good wins. They've got some good wins, but I was curious as to whether 13, even 12, to be honest, but I was curious as to whether that would be too many. But as I mentioned earlier with West Virginia, I guess not, since 14 isn't even too many for a major conference team. But hey, good for them. I mean, they made quite a run in that wacky Big Ten tournament where all the lower seeds, except for basically Purdue and Indiana, all the lower seeds won the whole week.
Well, forever shows me happy that Penn State got in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have, well, boy, I don't want to jinx anything. That's the crazy part. Because I was going to say,
jinx it.
Well, I don't really think that they're going to beat A&M, but at the same time, I don't want to jinx it either for my boy Buzz because it's madness. Anything can happen.
I was saying jinx it for Nick. Just he comes on the show better when he's pissed off.
Yeah, he'll see this and then I
hope he does.
Watch Penn State makes a run of some kind. He's gonna do it.
No.
He's going to insist that we do a podcast just with him on, just so he can come on.
No, it's just we'll do an 8-hour podcast. What are you talking about?
I can't remember the last time, and he would be the guy to ask. I can't remember the last time Penn State, where they really had, if they've ever really had a quality basketball team. To be honest, I know they've had spurts where they've gotten into the tournament a year here, a year there, NIT a year here, year there. But it's a football school. It's a football school. They don't have.
It's a football and wrestling school.
Oh, it's definitely a wrestling school. You're right about that.
They have not made the tournament since 2011.
2011. Okay. See, they have these spurts where they'll get in.
It's not even, they say that's not even quality when that's just getting in.
Correct. And I'm gonna guess that they probably didn't. They probably were 1-out that year, 2011. Oof. So 12 years in between. So good for them. I'm glad, as a Big Ten guy, it's always good to see the team. They made the run in the conference tournament. They beat some good teams along the way, especially at the end of the season as well. Good for them. I'm happy.
Yeah, you're making me look this up like live on air too, by the way. I'm really trying to find where Penn State ended up.
Oh, in that 2011 tournament?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I cannot see myself having picked them that year.
Well, they weren't an 11 or 16 seed, I can tell you that.
Okay. Well, that I could have guessed. I can't imagine I picked them going even probably
Man,
past that first game that
that
year.
was that was the UConn Butler final game where they
Correct.
missed by.
I remember that one. My brother is has been a huge UConn fan ever since Ray Allen back in the '90s. He's been a big supporter of them. I remember that one.
Yeah, because I remember Butler nearly won the goddamn
Remember
thing.
Walker.
Oh, that was not the year they almost won it. That was the year it was a 94 point play, final game.
Huh.
It was
Yeah,
53-41.
51-40. Yeah. Oh man, was that horrible final? That was terrible.
Me, I'm just happy it wasn't like
Didn't have a
110 to
problem.
41.
My brother didn't have a problem with it, obviously.
Yeah, so I was gonna say like,
Make it easier.
God,
And speaking of UConn, another 4 versus 13 game to watch.
Iota could beat them.
And that's the thing. Them and Iona,
I
Rick,
always put the.
you know,
I always just
and Rick
this.
Pitino's potential tryout for a bigger job. St. John's is rumored to be looking at him. Ohio State just had their first losing season in 2 decades, so maybe they're in the market for a new coach. And yeah, I mean Iona, that's a feel bad for my brother. It's a tough one.
I mean, I'm almost amazed that like with the news that came out, I think it was Thursday with Jim Boeheim resigning.
Yep.
They immediately he was basically forced out. Let's just be real here, and
Yeah.
it's years too late, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But my whole point was like I'm almost surprised that like they named Red Autry as his replacement already. I was like,
That was quick.
if he was the assistant coach, it helps.
But that was
my
quick, just how when they made the decision. That was within
right,
hey,
that was the same day. It was like they're gonna Jim's gone. We're gonna name him. I always said if he succeeds at Iona, I'm like, does Rick Pitino go back to Syracuse and take over?
I mean, does he
He
and
can't now because but like if
correct.
like but that
And
would be
Georgetown's now in the market for a new coach because they
yes, because got reviewing like
Ewing the pink
well,
slip, Patrick Ewing the pink slip, basically when he got back to the locker room after they lost to
pretty
Villanova.
much.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it was. So extra motivation for Patino to have Iona ready and for my brother being the UConn guy, even if they get by Iona, St. Mary's, I believe, will beat VCU. St. Mary's is no small task either. So
No, they're not.
that's a tough first weekend to get to the Sweet 16 in that bracket for them. That's a tough one.
Let's say Mary's VCU game is gonna be a really good game.
Now that'll be interesting. Like I said, they're always good with these 4-13, 6-11, 5-12 matchups. They're great. The selection committee has always been great at creating interesting ones there. They know, and especially, you know what? Especially in the last 10 or 15 years, because they really understand it's not just about the teams. It's not just about the tournament, crowning a champion. We're making this bracket for the gamblers, for the people filling
Oh
out.
God, yeah.
Make it as
They know.
hard as possible for them to fill out the bracket.
And it's infinitely hard now because like I was gonna say like that like there's no like team where it's like okay you got 11 5-star recruits now like these 5-star recruits
That's
are going
right.
to smaller and smaller schools like Steph Curry did. Like I mean things
That's right.
if I had to quiz most people that watch college basketball even like a lot,
Mhm.
do they know that Steph Curry went to Davidson?
At this point, I would say probably not. I
He
mean,
didn't go to like they didn't go to like a big school or anything like that. Like
yeah, it's
I mean that's not even a mid-major.
I don't even remember off the top of my head. I can't remember what conference they're in off the top of my head, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that on the air, but it's true. I because as you know, college football is more my thing than basketball, but I don't remember what conference they're in off the top of my head because there's so many conferences in college basketball. Do I dare say the America East? And I'm probably way off, and I probably shouldn't have even said that.
I'm looking right now to be honest. They're in they're piling for football. They're in the Atlantic 10 right now.
Davidson?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They weren't before.
I didn't think so,
No,
but
I think they were. I think they were. I think they were. I think it was like the Pioneer League or something small like that.
okay, yeah. Well, that's definitely a step up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
um, so I'm looking at the rest of that West region, and I was a little surprised that Gonzaga was a 3 this year, even though they were 28-5. They didn't.
They'll play. Maybe they'll play better when they're really not a 1 seed.
Well, that's true because they didn't seem like the same Gonzaga this year as they have in previous years, and even when they were winning, it just didn't seem that they weren't blowing teams out the way they had the previous couple of seasons. They were playing a lot closer games with teams they probably shouldn't have. And though I will say they did get better as the season went along, and they did blow out St. Mary's in that conference title game. So
Marquette's a 2 seed.
what?
Said Marquette's a 2 seed. Holy shit!
Yeah, and I can see that they are good, and it's not just the homer in me saying that, but they are
You
good
can say if you were a homer.
because they are. Yeah, this is a team that could potentially get to the Final Four. They are that good right now, in my opinion. UCLA, even though they lost last night, another team, another 2 seed that I think has real potential to make the 4, despite the fact that UCLA more than likely is going to have to go through Kansas to get there. I know Kansas got beaten up yesterday, but that Big 12, as we know, has just been that's what the
Kansas
does this year. They beat each other up.
Yeah, and well, with Kansas, with Bill Self not being, I think he's in the hospital right now.
I believe he got discharged. I think he just got discharged. I believe they said right before the selection show that he's going to be with the team at the tournament for the tournament, which good. That's a good thing, obviously, just for.
Makes me a little nervous considering.
Oh, I agree. I mean, of all the professions that
Yeah,
you just don't want to mess with it when it comes to
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I don't know. It's worse.
A coach, especially a collegiate coach.
Yeah, I think collegiate coach is way more stressful than being a pro coach. I mean, you got to deal with alumni, and they control you.
Alumni, and the fact that recruiting is. I know it's redundant to say it's year round, but it's even more so now because of the early recruiting season and all that stuff. It's even more stressful.
Oh, absolutely, it is. It's like,
and like you said, the smaller conferences are taking a bigger slice of the recruiting pie, so to speak, when it comes to the 4 and 5-star recruits, which adds another layer on it for a guy.
Oh, absolutely. I think it helps when they they can sell if especially when you got parents that you need to get a degree.
Yes.
You're getting paid to go to school. You're getting your degree. Well, that happened to one of I mentioned him, like the UB team earlier, that 2005 team. They had a player on it named Turner Gill. He would not Turner Gill, Turner Battle. I apologize. Turner Gill is a quarterback that used to play for Nebraska. Who was also
head coach at one point.
Yeah, I was like, who used to be the UB Bulls head coach, but that's a whole different story. But anyway, Turner Battle. He was a 4-star recruit out of North Carolina. Guess what? Do you know what city he's from in North Carolina?
No.
Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And he went to Buffalo. And for the record, yes, he did get an offer from North Carolina.
Well, I would imagine.
That had to be the easiest. They thought they had the easiest recruit ever because he's like 4 seconds down the road. And
I was going to say that'd be a slam dunk.
His mom made him get a degree.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't care how good you are. Why don't you just be like a small fish in a big fish in a small pond and get your degree? And you don't have to have any student loans or anything like that. And you have a life after that. You have a life after basketball.
Yeah, not the worst advice. I mean, and there it is.
And now he's a coach somewhere.
Because even as a 4 or 5-star recruit, as we know, that is no guarantee that you're going to end up playing pro basketball for 10 years in the NBA or even internationally. And yeah, it's always good to have a fallback option if necessary. So, boy, that is pretty crazy, though. Anytime a school like North Carolina or Duke or them were to lose a recruit that is right in their own backyard, that's pretty crazy. I don't remember that one. That's pretty crazy. to be honest.
Yeah, he's an assistant coach at Middle Tennessee State right now.
The Tar Heel alumni must
Oh yeah,
imagine that. What the reaction to that one must have been. Holy cow!
yeah, and he's the athletic director there too. So it's like, yeah, he got a really good job.
Oh yeah. All right. Boy,
But yeah,
oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, we were talking about how these guys go to small schools. That's what makes these games so hard to predict. Now, I remember as I was either in high school or middle school, I forgot where it was, but like my dad's at the car district he worked at. They did it off of school every year. It was like $20 to get in. My dad paid the $20 for me because he's being nice. And the last time I did it, I never did it after this because my dad went 32 for 32 in the first round.
Yeah,
he basically told him
here.
He did it. Yeah.
That is one of those amazing things every year, how there's always a couple of brackets that go perfect that first weekend or those first couple of days. That's always so amazing to me that they don't, there's not one that trips them up. Not one of those upset. How do people route?
Well, where my dad's got all bookies and maybe that helps. I don't know.
It's just amazing to me.
Oh, it is. It's like statistically, like I think we did one in middle school too. Like one of my teachers went like 31 for 32. It's like, okay, you won.
I think the best that I've ever done for those first 2 days, I think the best that I've ever done was, I think 1 year, I think I did 26 or 27. That's the best I've ever done. And I impressed myself that I got that many right.
I think the last time I played for money and won was I got like 26 or 27 as well, and it was the years Florida repeated, and I was because all my friends that had me were idiots, and they all picked Ohio State, and I was behind them all, and I was the only shithead that picked Florida, and because how graduate gets more, it's like it's not just 1 point, it's like 1 point for the first round, and it's like 2 points for the second round, 4 points, and so on. Yeah, I was excited. I was the only shithead that had Florida winning, so it's like, oh, thanks for the free money, guys.
The last time I predicted the champion right in a pool was Krzyzewski's last title with Duke in 2015. And I remember there was a big pool that I was always in. The guy's not doing it anymore, but the grand prize was, I think, like 10 or 15,000. I didn't get the grand prize because the rest of my bracket was all messed up. But what I will never forget about that is that myself, my brother, and my cousin all picked the Duke-Wisconsin final that year, but I was the guy who picked Duke. I felt kind of about that, but I had to do what I had to do. And
you're a Michigan fan. Why do you give a shit?
Well, I cheer for the hometown teams to do good too. And you know what? On that one, I'll let you in on my most embarrassing moment from when I picked brackets was 20, which year was it? I believe it was 27. Was it 2017 when Villanova beat Michigan in the final? Maybe that was 2018. Anyway, that year I had Michigan going to the Final Four, and I'm still embarrassed by this. They had some injury issues at the end of the season, and you got to turn in your bracket before like 9:30, 10 o'clock Thursday morning.
Makes sense.
8:30 that morning, I pulled an audible and I had them going out earlier because I thought the injuries would get them. And I've never forgiven myself for that one because I would have.
Is that the year Michigan beat Syracuse?
No. The next time they went to the final, this was a couple years later when they beat Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago in the Final Four.
God damn, you're going to hell for that one.
I'm still embarrassed about that one, that I pulled that audible at the very last minute. To this day, I still don't know why I second guessed myself about that. One still haunts me. I'm embarrassed by that one. So you just can't tell with some of these. And we were talking about the big small matchups that can be tough. I'm looking at the East region, and I'm looking at Tennessee against UL Lafayette, the Cajuns. Tennessee
I love the
Tennessee's one
Raging
of the weirdest
Cajuns.
teams. Tennessee's one of the weirdest teams in college basketball. 23-10, a 4 seed, and a great 23-10, but they can't get out of their own way. The last, basically since the new year, they can't get out of their own way. They have these stumbles, and a lot of times it's against teams that either they shouldn't lose to. They lost to Kentucky at home. They just lost to Missouri in the conference tournament. Missouri's good, but I'm just saying I don't think Tennessee probably should have lost them, or they'll lose to a smaller team that they really shouldn't lose to, like when they lost to Florida. And so that's one that I'm kind of on the lookout myself for, is
What the?
just go one and done.
Sorry, I got amused because I'm on the ESPN app, and I just did like a random like selection of like autofilling.
Uh-huh.
The winner of AMCC and whoever they're playing, I think it's like the 16th seed. I actually had them going to the Final Four. Like it's a 16-4 and an 8-8. It's like it's Iowa and Arkansas on one side, and Tennessee. If I did, and Tennessee got to the Final Four and Tennessee won.
If A&M Corpus Christi or Southeast, I think it was, or Southeast Missouri or whatever, if they made it to the 4, I'd be worried about the apocalypse.
Well, I'm still worried about that.
At
But
the end of time,
we'll get to that
is
later.
coming.
Oh, absolutely! Holy shit! I mean, they are playing Virginia, but still, holy god!
I thought it was crazy enough when, I think it was Sixers last year made it to the 16 as a 15 seed. I'd be terrified if a 16 seed ever made it.
It's a 16 seed beating Alabama.
That would be terrifying. Terrifying.
Oh, I guarantee.
How many brackets would be set on fire for that one?
Oh, there'd be no one close to that ever. Holy
Tuscaloosa that night itself would probably go up in flames.
I make a history joke, but I'll keep that joke to myself. But Tuscaloosa and being in flames, I have like 3 in my head. I'm just you guys. If you got anything to know about like American history of the South, just use your imagination. We'll leave it at that.
Somebody out there is going to do that, because how many people do not prank brackets, but just brackets where I don't care. I'm just going to go wild.
I was hoping that reminds me of my friend did it for like one of the weeks in football this year. He picked the underdogs in every one of them. He could only bet like $1.50 on FanDuel because it was gonna be like a payout of something like $140,000 for $1.50. And the says like 9 of them hit. He was like, God damn it. I was actually close. I was just screwing around.
It's almost a catch-22, because you're messing around, and then if it actually comes through, you start to think to yourself, well, was I on the right track? Because now you're starting to think instead of not thinking, which is what got him to that position in the first place. It's like Marquette in the East, 2 seed, and boy, they really could make a run here. I'm serious, because Michigan.
I'm looking right now.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm looking too. It's like, by the way,
Michigan State or USC, neither of those teams really impressed me. Michigan State, I know the X factor is it's Tom Izzo, it's the NCAA tournament. He knows how to guide an underachieving or just bad Michigan State team. He knows how to guide them through it.
You want to hear my Elite Eight for that bracket, by the way? It's at 16 seed. Whoever plays Alabama versus Missouri, and Tennessee plays Montana State. Iowa plays Tennessee State. Arkansas plays USC, which UCLA. I'm sorry, but it's like, God damn, this thing is comically bad.
Yeah, now that's funny. That's where that's the definition of no. You know what that is? That's a video game simulation, basically.
I think the video game session wouldn't be this ridiculous, to be honest with you.
You're probably right, but I've played.
They did pick
games. I've tried that for fun enough to know that some crazy stuff can happen. But I agree. That's almost. I agree. It's almost comic. That's almost comic at that point. But from that Eastern region, Purdue, They're good.
Yeah,
I have my questions. Duke, Tennessee,
yeah. Speaking of Duke, they lost to Oral Roberts, by the way.
in that simulation.
Yes,
I
not
now I don't think they will, and I don't. Oral Roberts 30 wins. We were talking about that, but
it's Duke.
I know, and they've really come along basically the last 6 weeks. They've really come along. I mean, what a story for the first year without Coach K, where it looked like they were at one point during the season. It looked like Duke and North Carolina, neither of them were going to make it, and now not only did Duke make it, but they were a 4 and a 5 seed, excuse me, and the conference tournament champions. Quite a run. And yeah, that momentum, I doubt that momentum is going to screech to a halt against Oral Roberts. If they play round, potentially, and if they play Purdue in the 16, or Memphis, because I wouldn't underestimate the possibility of Memphis beating Purdue in the second round. I wouldn't underestimate that as a possibility either. But I don't see. I have to believe that Duke's going to get to the second weekend.
Oh, at least. I mean, if they're
That's
peaking
my
now,
because
if they're peaking now, Jesus, I wouldn't put
it's the
them
best
in Sweet
time.
16. Yeah, exactly. If they're peaking now, Sweet 16, Elite 8.
That's what I'm thinking in that region. And Purdue, of all the 1 seeds, Purdue scares me the least. If I'm in a region with a team, Purdue would be the least of the ones right now, in my opinion, because they had that fantastic start, but lately they had the 2 losses to Indiana. They nearly lost to Wisconsin and should have lost to Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. Penn State nearly pulled it off today, despite pulling away at a couple of points, and Penn State would not quit, would not go away.
Penny Hardaway is still the coach in Memphis, right?
I believe so, yes.
I wouldn't bet against him.
That's true. And I foresee a Purdue Memphis matchup in that second round, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Some of these are going to be pretty fun. I don't think anybody, thankfully, it doesn't seem like any 1 or 2 seed has a particularly easy.
You are so you so just jinxed. Said they got an easy path to beat the first round.
Because I don't think any of these guys have an easy path to the Final Four.
Well, I don't think any team anymore does. I mean,
true.
God,
that's true. But
Alabama has to play the winner of West Virginia and Maryland. That's no gimme.
Fair.
Like right away,
the 8-9 matchups are always pretty fun too, to be honest, because I mean, we've seen plenty of times over the years where they pull the stunner.
Yeah, and
I believe Kentucky went to the final. Yes, in 2014, they went to the final as an 8 or a 9. Kentucky did, I believe.
There are times where it's almost like a detriment to be the 1 seed. It also depends on where the games are.
Well, and that's where having the overall one benefits Alabama, because they're playing in Birmingham, right?
Guys, they happened to Syracuse during their title run. They played 2 games in Albany, which is
that's right,
2 hours, which is 2 hours away.
So
you're basically playing a home game on not like your court, but it's close enough where it's these teams have to come to you. You can basically go home between games and sleep in your own bed.
That's right. Whereas sometimes you got to, sometimes some of these teams have to, I can't think of a specific example, but like Arizona State has to come and play in Buffalo because they're a tough seed. There we go. There's an example. USC playing Michigan State in Columbus, Ohio. Like that type of stuff. It happens, but that's the pain of being a lower seed. And let's see, I'm looking at right now the last 4 in this year were Mississippi State, Pitt, Arizona State, Nevada, playing those play-in games on Tuesday and Wednesday. First 4 out: Oklahoma State, Rutgers, North Carolina, and Clemson. Boy, Wisconsin's blowout loss, it wasn't blowout in the final margin, but they were getting blown out the whole game by Ohio State. I guess that really screwed them.
So should we talk about the elephant in the room that I hinted at before we went on air? The team that should not be in the tournament, and I don't care what anyone says.
Go for it.
It's Dickinson University should not be in the tournament at all.
Let me check who they ended up drawing as far. Oh, there they are. They're in one of those playing games
They're the 16. They won the 16 seed.
against Texas Southern. They'll play for the right to play Purdue.
They shouldn't be. The reason why they shouldn't be in the tournament, everyone, it's not just not they didn't. I mean, they didn't feel the bad team this year, but they didn't win their conference.
That's right. That's right. Because
Merrimack has only been division. This is the 5th year of Division I basketball for Merrimack.
Right.
And there's an NCAA rule in the books that says
Yep.
like when you switch divisions between Division I, Division II, and Division I, that you got to be out of your own division for 5 years.
I didn't realize it was 5 years. I knew of that rule, but I didn't realize it was 5 years. And that does seem a lot. I don't understand.
I don't care if it's one. Most teams that are going from D2 to D1 are going to get killed the first year.
I mean, do you recall or did you ever I didn't really hear why they really made it like that? And I wonder if that's those archaic rules that was created back when the NCAA, when the college basketball landscape was like a fifth of what it is now, and they just never updated it. I don't know. Because I do agree, that does seem pretty weird. And even in principle,
I don't know.
With you, it does seem weird that you'd even have the rule to begin with. I agree.
Especially nowadays, I mean, because you're going from 5 years. I think the logic is 5 years out that you'll have your entire class out, like that you brought in, like theoretically. Anyway, that you have the entire class out, so it's like you can actually, because like if you're going from D2 to D1, like I'm sure you know this name. When I'm gonna make a football comparison because it's probably similar if I had to guess. Do you know who Lance Leipold is?
You better believe it.
Okay, then.
I know who Lance Leipold is.
Okay, so he's University of Wisconsin Whitewater head coach. Kind of good at the football thing.
Oh yeah.
And then he went to UB after that. I was at Kansas in case you kept track.
I was cheering for Buffalo at that point.
And the point that was like the first thing he asked him was like, what's the greatest thing you can compare with the greatest difference between UB and Wisconsin Whitewater? And he dead faced said, I can recruit.
Yeah.
Like I can recruit top athletes.
That's right. Because you're not going to get a top athlete to go to a D3 school.
Well, because they can't offer athletic scholarships. It's their grants. Basically said like, you have to be this isn't a scholarship to play basketball, for example, but you better be on that goddamn court on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, we're giving you an academic scholarship. That means you better be on the football field, the basketball court, hockey rink, whatever you play. That's
right. That's why I've been a fan of his, obviously, since the Whitewater days, and that's why wherever he goes, I cheer. I cheered for UB when he was there, and now I'm Rock Jock Jayhawk when it comes to football. Because
I thought about messaging him because he actually follows me on Twitter.
Oh,
if you needed a graduate assistant, but then I looked the cost of living in Lawrence, Kansas. I lost my fucking mind.
What I saw living is in Kansas, in Lawrence.
Yeah, in Lawrence, Kansas specifically. I mean, it's a college town. I get it, but holy shit! Like a house like the size of my mom's, which is about 1,500 square feet. It's like $410,000.
Wow!
I'm like, tough. I thought the Midwest.
Well, like you said, it's a college town. That's probably.
I don't give a shit.
I know that, but I'm just telling you why. That's what they use to jack up the price. I'm with you. That's pretty shocking.
Oh yeah, I figured it'd be cool. I could get like a house for like $100K and like have some decent land. Yeah, no,
you were way off. But back to Fairleigh Dickinson, I agree. It should be Merrimack, and maybe to be fair, maybe this will be that catalyst that gets them to maybe review that rule and see if it's actually worth keeping. And maybe
I would make it 2 years 5 seems excessive.
I thought too. I think that's what Tony Kornheiser on Pardon the Interruption. I think that's what he said, and that's fair. That would be fair, I guess. I still don't understand in theory why there's even this rule to begin with, because if they're coming up from the weaker, because obviously it's a tougher class of opponent, why would it?
Yeah, if you
Because they're more than likely going to be losing for a while anyway. So I don't know. It just even in theory, it's always come off a little weird to begin with. It's almost like kicking the little guy.
yeah, it's like I would get it if it was like not that would ever happen. Don't Josh McKinney don't have a shit fit, please. But like if Duke was gonna go to like a D3 school,
Correct. That's different, obviously. Yeah.
Duke would go like 807-0 and would be like
That's right. Yeah, forget the UCLA winning streak, forget the UConn women's winning streak. That would be the new standard. Yeah, if you're going from an upper division down, clearly, but if you're going from one of the lower divisions up,
yeah.
no
I mean,
expectation that you're going to be winning that much that quick.
yeah, I mean,
And it took them 4 years to get to this point.
yeah,
So,
and like if you got mostly freshmen on your team, they've all graduated or they're about to graduate or they did. It's a 5th year. They're probably out or they're like a 5th year senior. It's not like they're going to host. They're going to have a whole like 11 5th-year seniors, and they're probably going to get killed anyway the first round.
I was going to say, even if they did have like a team of 5th year seniors, those are 5th year seniors that are would any of them be a 4 or 5-star recruit? Would any of them have been recruited to begin with by a D1 school anyway? Maybe a lower conference, a smaller conference school, but just doesn't seem like there is a kind of an unfairness to that rule, just from the way it feels. And obviously, this is a great example of it because they did everything they were supposed to do. They played by the rules. They won the conference tournament. They should have gotten in, and instead, like you said, Fairleigh Dickinson gets in. So I don't have to really wonder who you're going to be cheering for during that game with Texas Southern when they play for the right to lose to Purdue. Oh, say that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't think a 16 is going to beat a 1 again for a while. I don't think it'll ever happen again because I didn't think it would ever happen anyway. So I was shocked that it happened. Happened on my dad's birthday. And I remember Virginia going pretty far that year too. So that was a bummer for him. That was a bummer. But it just happened to work out like that.
I think it'll happen again. I just don't think it'll happen anytime soon. And I also think it depends on the
right, because I can't say it'll never happen again because it happened once. So I can't say it, but I agree. It's going to happen for a while. Somebody will like something will have the right circumstances will take place.
Or sometimes it's a big school that makes a 16.
Yeah. So.
Like if it's say if it's like an NC State who, because reasons.
Or even an Ivy League school, because I remember there was I saw a 30 for 30 short about a game that that I guess people credit with starting the whole March Madness buzz, the bracketing and stuff. I forget which year in the late 80s where Georgetown as a 1 seed nearly lost to Princeton as a 16 in the first round. They nearly did. It was a close game. And Syracuse 1 year as a 1 nearly lost to a 16.
They lost as a 2 seed to a 15. I can tell you that. It was 1989, by the way.
Oh, okay, 89. So 16s have come close, but I agree. But
they lost. They Georgetown beat them 50 to 42, 49.
There we go. So
and you know what? And by the way, the reason why is because it was also in Providence, Rhode Island. Princeton's in New Jersey. It's a lot closer than Georgetown.
Pretty close drive, yeah. I guess they inadvertently just threw them a bone on that one, but
sounds like it.
It's every now and again, but you're right. It's very far in between to where
I'm looking at the box score. Princeton actually had a 9-point lead at the half.
I forget if that was the shot clock era, right? They had got
Yeah, they
clock into college basketball by that point for the tournament.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking. So I
Yeah,
remember until like the mid '80s during the
well, they said
tournament, they had like no shot clock.
yeah, because that's how big teams would win is they would just stall on offense and just score like
Mhm.
20
The
points
four
and just be,
corners, the old four corners strategy.
yep.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, they had the 45-second shot clock then. God, and that seems like a lifetime ago.
45 seconds.
I don't get the thing that
They
pissed me off
literally
about
hold on
that.
to the ball for almost a minute before taking a shot. I
Oh,
still marvel at that looking back. That's
the
still,
almighty kick in the ass is not even that. It's the fact that the women's has always been 30 or 35. It was always been less. It's like, why is the women like superior to men in this?
maybe that. I,
I
you know,
mean, I'm
question. That's a
like,
good question.
I never got the why.
That's a good question, but man, 45. Who came up with boy?
Someone asked it was on some good shit that
I mean,
night.
I get that's a hilarious argument. Okay, we're gonna actually implement the shot clock and but at 45 seconds, I mean, I know it's better than a team just passing the ball around for 3 or 4 minutes. I get that, but that's I thought the point
You,
speed it up. Let's get some scoring going on here, entertainment, etc.
you know, you also I'm just because I have no life apparently. I'm still stuck on the Georgetown Princeton game. Princeton also only played 7 guys for that game.
Okay, I remember seeing
They had,
the short a while back, and yeah, from what it sounded like, it was actually a pretty good game. It was on ESPN too. That's the other thing. That's
yeah,
amazing to me because my whole life as a sports fan, it's all
PBA.
CBS and
Yep.
TBS. Now TBS gets there, or now they have the whole spectrum of channels where it's
Yeah.
TBS, True
True TV.
TNT, the whole Turner balloon.
Okay, like I said,
The college basketball tournament.
I'm just having a really good laugh at this just because their starting center, his name's Kit Muller. He was 6'7". He had to guard Alonzo Mourning.
I was gonna say because that was when Alonzo was there. Yeah,
Alonzo must have been a freshman or something like that because it was if '89 was the year he came in the league with
yeah,
association.
he must have been because he was there into the '90s because he was a rookie in the NBA, I think, in
92.
'92. Okay, so he must have been a freshman that year then. Boy, kudos to Big John getting a lot of those star players to hang around for the senior years.
Well, back then, also because there wasn't gigantic money. It's like I'm not gonna go
Well,
one. There was no incentive to be one and done.
oh yeah, I'm just thinking if a player was like Alonzo, a player of that caliber, even after the junior year, would be like, well, I can go now. I'm that good, and I have draft stock, so to speak. So I always kind of resist a guy like Ewing.
I mean, he was a second round pick that year though, '92. So in defense,
Okay, yeah. Shut
I
me.
mean, I mean, he was. I mean, he was going to be the second round pick. Considering, like,
Well, that was Shaq.
That was Shaq, and he was Shaq. He was surrounded by Shaq and Christian Laettner.
Yeah, and Leitner had the benefit of the back-to-back national titles, the shot being on
Almost a 3P2.
what?
Almost a 3P2.
Yeah. Well,
And
sort of almost. I mean, they did lose that one to UNLV by 30, so they got to the final, but it was really an almost, so to speak.
well, wasn't he on the team that lost to Arkansas too? Oh, that was Cherokee Parks. Never mind.
That's right. Yeah, that was the year after he. That was the year or two after he left when they got to the final and lost to Arkansas. Man, yeah, Duke had quite a dynasty during that early '90s period. They had quite a dynasty going. But
Yeah, that's just crazy. The first 3 guys. Although I have to object to one of the players. It's like the Wikipedia link about the draft that year is like they have like the list. Like if you've been to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, Christian Laettner is in the Hall of Fame technically because he was on.
I would get why he's. I mean, he's an obvious college basketball.
Right. Well,
first ballot, unanimous, etc.
It's merit. Like I said, if you go to the Basketball Hall of Fame, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame.
That's true.
I've been there. I've been to the new one. I went to the old one. I mean, they got college stats. The college things are high school people in there.
Yeah,
So it's like and he went in because he was on part of that dream team. Like, and just think they could have had Shaq for the team. The only reason they chose Christian Lane
they
as
could have
well.
they should have had Isaiah Thomas on that team.
Well, that's a whole that. But the
I
crazy
know,
thing is,
I
like,
know, I know. Anybody,
say,
everybody knows that story, and anybody who doesn't, don't know who, but anybody that doesn't,
lift up a rock, please. Lift up a rock now.
tell me how it is under that rock. Must be nice.
It must be. They must get really good food under there too.
But you
All in all,
you want to switch
yeah,
to
this is
football? Because there's some big football news.
there is. I did not know that.
I think you've been living under that rock, I guess, too. Because
Or I've been texting you the whole
yep.
the trades and all that. So
I mean,
you
the
want to talk about
Bears.
the blockbuster trade that Chicago and Carolina made?
I mean, I guess my first question to you, because you're
Why?
well, okay. Second question, because you're more in tune with draft picks and the draft stuff than I am. Obviously, you have the draft special every year. My first thought was, my first thought when you texted me that was, wow, there's still 7 weeks before the draft. Why didn't they kind of draw this out a little bit and maybe see what else was out there? Maybe even try to get a team to get desperate and give up more than they would want.
Chicago. I think Chicago got. I think my opinion, Chicago fleeced Carolina.
Okay.
Like God, they got a 2 first.
Yeah.
They are
next year
and a second in 2025
and a second this year too, and a receiver.
And DJ Moore, who, okay, I'm gonna be my friend Shane Hallam posted this, and I tend to agree. Is DJ Moore the Chicago Bears' greatest receiver of all time?
No.
He's got because hear me out. He has more receiving yards than anyone in Chicago history.
Even more than Brandon Marshall when he was there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Now maybe now I
So wait, for Shiggles, guess who's number 4?
For all-time Bears receiving?
Yes. It surprised the shit out of me. It's really obvious when you just blur out a really popular name from Chicago history.
I'm kind of drawing a blank right now.
Walter Payton is number 4 on that list.
For receiving
yards. For receiving yards. He's got like 4,500, I think I saw. But the all-time leader only has like 5,030 yards.
I would have never guessed that because obviously
they've had some good receivers. You mentioned Brandon Marshall. Yeah. They had Willie Gull, who was arguably the fastest person ever.
That's who I would have guessed. Willie Gull, yeah.
Huh. I mean, goddamn. The guy runs I think he still runs a 4. I think this guy was 5, like 5.5, and he's like 65 years old.
How much? I wanted to ask you this because that was one of the other initial thoughts in my head was, how much do you think Carolina is really regretting giving Christian McCaffrey away right now?
Oh, infinitely.
I mean, they did the playoffs last year after giving him away, but now they're going to pick a quarterback.
Assumably, but I mean,
I would assume you don't trade the number 1 pick if you're not, especially when that is a desperate need for that team. I mean, they're going to get.
And there's a clear cut. You think it's Bryce Young and CJ Stroud? I have a wild card for you. I'm still.
Well, Anthony Richard wasn't it Anthony Richardson? Richardson,
yes, he lit up the combine, but
I know exactly.
But God, he's like, you know how people criticize Josh Allen for his accuracy, like a little bit.
Yeah,
Josh Allen, it was Drew Brees coming out compared to this guy. He's a freak athlete who can't. He's got to learn what Carolina needs to do.
So he's Lamar Jackson coming out of Louisville, almost. Except I know Lamar was a better thrower in college coming into the pros, but I remember for
52% completion percentage in college in Florida.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
If you want me to compare to someone, he's Tyree Jackson out of UB. Okay. Huge guy, monster arm, athletic as hell, but at a way better program. So he's going to be a first-round draft pick instead of getting undrafted by getting shit advice. Because I don't like him at all.
Yeah.
I mean, straight up,
I mean, that combine that had to have put ideas in people's heads about
Oh, absolutely, it did.
the guy's huge. Let's just start
He's
out. He's a
yeah,
big
he's
man
he's six
and,
four. He's
and
235,
fast.
240, and a
That
four
was
four. Yeah,
incredible.
4.40. I'd say so. But like
And in
again,
this
though,
new day of mobile, like really mobile quarterbacks, I got to wonder if people are thinking. But for Carolina, I mean,
if the I
better
don't
know
care.
what they're doing. If they
The point,
pick whoever they pick
my problem is I don't think it matters.
because of the accuracy thing.
No, I don't think it matters who they pick.
Fair.
Because I can't. Okay, they got the Chenault from who played for Jacksonville. That's their one receiver right now.
Yeah.
They just
They
gave
just gave
their,
away. They just gave
their
more away.
they're a one receiver. Yeah, DJ Moore to Chicago.
Boy,
Chicago's
if only to have a guy, a dual threat guy who could run and catch and take some of that weight off of them. But where's Carolina going to get somebody like that? Oh, that's right. They had somebody like that.
I mean, if they're smart, I mean, they gotta go. I haven't seen their their cap situation starting tomorrow. Which, if I'm them, I find the top. Like I don't care. I break the bank.
They need to do some shopping.
They need to shop for the two best receivers that are free agents, and I have no clue they are off the top of my head. I'm gonna look that up right now.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it. But you're right. Because
they need to get, because if you give them nothing,
whoever they get, if you bring whoever it is, whether it's Stroud or Young or whoever, if you're bringing them in to be the franchise quarterback with the thought, this is going to be our quarterback for the next 10 years, you know, either you have them spend the first year with the clipboard, getting used to the system.
They need that. You have to do that too.
I agree. But if you don't, because so many teams just throw them out there and expect the instant results, yeah, you got to give them some pieces to work with, or it's going to be a disaster.
Okay.
People are going to
I'm going to be real. There is absolutely garbage out there for receivers in the free agency class.
That makes sense. A lot of the best ones are locked in to wherever they are. That makes sense.
I mean, here's some names. I'm going to run them off to you. Adam Thielen's a free agent now. Robbie Anderson, Nelson, who used to be on Carolina, I don't think he's going to go back. Nelson Aguilar.
Thielen's good.
Yeah, but Thielen's also 32. What are you having for 2 years?
Okay, that's I would still take him on my team, but if
I'm a betting man, he's not going to Carolina. He's probably going. My guess is I got done like 3 teams. They might show interest in him. It's like
come on, Green Bay.
Yeah, right. With who's going to throw him the ball?
I know. Well, Jordan Love, don't you know?
Oh, fuck off.
That's the way it appears to be going.
I stand by my asshole comment to you. Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, Robbie Anderson, who I think he screwed himself out of. He wanted to be traded out of Carolina, so he's not going back. Yeah. Nelson Aguilar, who can't catch a cold.
Nick knows about that.
Yeah. So it's Mary Lee.
Watch that for a couple of years at least. Yeah. They are really. Let me ask you this. Is it possible, because there is about 6-7 weeks until the draft, is it possible that Carolina, and I know this is going to sound insane, but I have to wonder, is it possible?
You ain't single hand, so why the fuck not?
Good point. Is it possible that Carolina traded and gave everything that they gave away for this one pick to try to then give it away for something better, a better deal to somebody? I mean, I'm just spitballing.
You won't. You get low ball offers even for pick 2.
Because I agree with
it's franchise. This is franchise suicide, and I'm dead serious with that. Man. And I'm being nice. I really am. I debated in my head. It's because I think my friend, I agree. Like it's like, okay, cool. Who's gonna be put if it's Bryce Young, he might get killed.
Because there's no pieces. I mean, is he going to?
There's no pieces in that offensive line.
Have to run the ball and throw the ball himself. Is he going to throw the ball to himself? Because they don't have. They just gave away their main receiver as far as yardage.
Like Alan Lazard's a free agent. I'm like literally looking.
I
Juju,
guess,
like
try to get, like you said, they got to get somebody, even if it's, yeah, obviously there's other than.
they're gonna have to trade. They can bring in Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, well, what do we both experience. I only experienced games, but you experienced that. I experienced that. And I mean,
Baltimore.
Damaged. It's too damaged at this point.
Oh, they could bring in touchdown Jesus. There's that.
I mean,
I'm literally.
This is such a. I was surprised that they were the ones that Carolina. That was
Unless there's one wild card.
Okay.
And he's 30 years old and he wants 20 million a year. Odell Beckham.
Why not? Why not?
I would.
They need to get him, like you said. They need to get whoever they get at quarterback with this one pick. They need to get him somebody to throw to. So why not? If they're willing to do crazy things like what they've done.
In other words, Phil, the word's stupid. The word is stupid.
I'm still surprised that they're the ones that ended up doing it.
The
worst thing, a bunch of teams that could have ended up being the ones to get this one pick from Chicago. I'm surprised Carolina were the ones that. I mean, did Chicago? What do you think?
I think it's because they
were offered and just thought these guys are crazy. We've got to jump on this because we might not get anything. We might not get anything better.
I agree. I think, like I said, it was a great deal for Chicago. Okay, you move back 8 picks in the draft. It's a pretty stacked draft.
Yes, and you get a first round pick next year. That's more than likely right now.
Be a top 5 pick.
Yes,
I'm calling it right now. It may even be number 1 overall again, and you can trade back again.
Boy, would that be insane?
Yeah, you could conceivably have like perpetually 2 first-round picks for the next decade if you trade with other teams. Like,
what was it? A couple of years ago, we were talking about Miami's season being a dumpster fire. The year they brought who was it out of retirement? It didn't work, and we knew it.
Jay Cutler.
Is this going to be a dumpster fire of a season for Carolina? Where
I think
the one pick, they drafted the one pick, and they're going to maybe not ruin, but definitely set back a young player's career.
Who the hell is Tommy Tremble?
What?
That's their tight end right now.
Is who? Sorry.
Tommy Tremble's their starting tight end.
Tremble. Oh boy. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, he's a 3rd year league. He was drafted the 3rd round of the 2021 draft. But
we haven't even addressed the other thing with Carolina is it's not like they have this fantastic offensive line that just doesn't have people to protect.
That's what I was getting at next.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, he spent a 1st-round pick last year on offensive tackle. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not like. Hopefully, he grows more into his role, and he's an athlete. Like he's just starting to learn it. It's like.
But that's it for their O-line, basically. So the poor quarterback, whoever they pick, is going to be probably running for his life for most of the time he's on the field this year.
I was going to joke. I was going to call him.
Tough way to learn.
That's why you bring a veteran. Let him let the shit hit the fan on him.
Man,
like you gotta get like a decent. I mean, like my friend was saying, like. This is gonna be Derek Carr 2.0 or David Carr. I'm sorry. Unless they sign someone, I feel bad for Frank Reich. I mean, he might be one and done in Carolina.
Yeah, he did not. He may have been better off taking a season off
or being like an offensive coordinator somewhere.
Yeah, or something like that. Waiting for a better because this isn't not this. Right now, from the outside, this just looks like a terrible situation to get into willingly to go into. Even if you have the number 1 pick, but
you have the number 1 pick. You didn't earn it. You traded like the house for it. You gave up a future first on it. Like what the hell are you doing?
And you don't have as we've just mentioned, you don't have a lot of the pieces that you need to make this pick a successful one and they want it to be successful instantly. You kind of need to. And yeah, this is again, I'm surprised they're the ones I'm surprised Carolina were the ones that ended up getting the pick. I didn't even think about
I
that.
had a feeling, but like the one
I didn't.
I wouldn't. I only did because like, but then I'm like, if they're pick 9, like if they really like Richardson, they could have just like stayed put and not done a damn thing. I thought the
Yeah.
team like Indy. I thought the
Yeah.
team was gonna move up was gonna be like Indy, and they were gonna give them basically the
I
equivalent
heard
of what they
Indy.
what basically what the Chargers gave to the Giant or what the Giants gave the Chargers.
I was actually thinking, for some reason, my main thought was that probably Houston was going to end up doing what they had to do, giving away what they had to give away to get that pick, because they're in basically a mode of starting over.
They're gonna be they're gonna be in both starting forever because I think that's it. The franchise can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, they
I'm,
have been. I mean, this has been. They had a brief moment where it looked like they were, as a franchise, that they were going to make that next step, and
yeah,
it never
and then they
happened.
got well, when you draft a serial rapist, it doesn't hurt.
Now, we don't know that he was a serial rapist before he got drafted. Maybe they're the ones that made him a serial rapist. I don't know if he was doing that stuff when he was at Clemson for Deshaun.
Neither do I, but I
But
mean,
you're
Jesus
right.
Christ, you have
And they
you make
enabled it. You're right. That's
you make
just,
them a massage parlor have like give and sign NDAs.
oh,
I would be that's so slimy to me. Like I said, fuck that
yeah.
franchise.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be nice about it, but I can't. Fuck that franchise.
No, it's tough, especially when it was as pervasive as it was. I mean, what did it end up at? 22 or 23? I mean,
I can't count that high.
yeah, that's rough. That's where that's where it really gets past the cynical. Well, it's pro football. It's a tough business.
Two words come to
Walk
mind.
past that.
Joey
Yeah.
Ryan.
For the wrestling fans out there, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm always proud of myself. By the way, for the Joey Ryan thing, I'm always proud of myself when my gut instincts are correct. And I remember the very first time I ever saw that fucking guy. I don't even know. I think it was by the time he was at Impact. So I remember hearing the name
Gut check.
footage. First time I ever saw him, my first reaction, literally, I turn it on and I see him, and my first reaction, ew. That was literally what I thought when I saw him was, ew. And ew, ew, nothing about him. So, and you're right, when it comes to the Texans and Deshaun Watson, I mean, yeah, but for some reason, I thought Houston was going to be that franchise that was going to give away the store to get this pick and try to start over this way. And I'm still very surprised that Carolina did. And
I think it's because
really plan this out.
I think it's because teams were. I think they just went like, "Fuck it, we're gonna give like as much as we can to get them."
I guess because
Well, I think it was also because they were. I think they were pissed because maybe they made an offer to Green Bay and Green Bay told them go to hell for Rodgers. That had to be my guess.
I could
Like
I could hear the rumors of Carolina making their and
I don't even know what the hell team like. I mean, the rumors the Jets right now, like, and then it's very strong. But what the hell do you give the Packers? I mean, like,
you know what you give them?
he's
You say we're going to take on that contract. That's what you give them.
because I mean, I was going to ask. I mean, no
That's
one's
what you
mentioned
give
it
them.
yet.
Is what I'm
I mean,
thinking. And that's
I was
right.
thinking, like a fair deal would be like a second round pick for like the Jets to give up. It's like, is this a Brock Osweiler deal or is this the NBA one of those NBA deals where you have to trade a person to like purge cap space?
See, that's my guess because right now it's tough for me to imagine the Packers giving Rodgers away for, like you said, second round pick or whatever, and still hanging on and still having to pay that contract, the full contract.
They won't do that.
Imagine that the Jets are going to have to eat some of that contract. Otherwise, the Packers would be pretty stupid to give away their quarterback of 15 plus years, who, despite everybody else's opinion, I still think is fine. Last year was terrible, but
It's terrible by Derek or Aaron Rodgers standards.
correct.
It's
But
not.
there was a whole
It's
lot
not,
that went into that, more than just him. He didn't
no, I love it.
help any of it. He didn't help any of it, and he doesn't help anything when he opens his mouth. Believe me.
Well,
or when he
Had to
goes into
deal with
hiding
this
for like
crap.
6, or when he goes into hiding for like 6 weeks.
Oh, he what goes into hiding? Yeah, he's gonna go out into the woods and be in the dark. I
Yeah.
literally
Did we
thought he
talk?
was
Did we talk after the Bills Packers game? I forgot.
off the top of my head. I can't remember, but
Well, I was gonna say, like, I told the guys at the game, like, that, like, we had like 4 or 5 Packers fans. They were really nice gentlemen. It was a great time. They drove from Green Bay, but it was like, I'm like,
we're
hey,
good people.
yeah, they really are. They are great
We're
people.
good people.
Like, yeah, just your team Kish can't win in Buffalo. But anyway, I
No, we
digress.
can't. We cannot.
But it's the only city you haven't won in. But no, I was gonna say, I told one of the guys, and I was kind of I was being like a passive aggressive dick about it, but I mean, they laughed it, so it was okay. I was like, hey, congratulations, you finally got your quarterback, finally a California quarterback. They're like, yeah, you're right. like,
But
I
I have to imagine that the Jets would have to eat some of that salary. Otherwise, it makes no sense to give them away. Because if you're
I
getting,
agree.
and you're still, that means you literally, that means you are not committed to doing anything in free agency at all. And that's a
Yeah.
terrible situation to be in with, in my opinion, with Jordan Love at quarterback. I don't see it.
I think it's
I have people in
That's-
Wisconsin. I have people that I talk sports with. They like him. They think there's something there. I think he's a great backup. I've got no issue with that. I think he's a good backup. Well, maybe
what, a 17-game starter.
I know, but I just don't see him as being that guy. And I'll be completely honest with you. I know you shit on Derek Carr there a little bit earlier. I think he would have been a great fit to get.
I met David Carr.
Oh, sorry, Derek. Because Derek, in my
Yeah.
great fit to come to Green Bay. He's
You're gonna give him 4 years of 150. You can give him 4 to 150 with 100 guaranteed. Probably not.
well, not for that much. Agreed, but in theory, because the guy's motivated, he's pissed, and he would have a
On a related note,
Receiving
where the fuck are the Saints getting this money from?
oh they just don't care about spending it. I don't know where they got because they were already over the cap to begin with.
They've been in cap hell for the last it seems like since
they're going to be in cap hell for the next decade.
since Tom Benson died.
They're going to be in cap hell for the next decade. That's something that's a fact of life that they are comfortable with.
Yeah, but they're like, I mean, god damn, they're like,
oh, it's
every year
ridiculous.
they're like 40 million over. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Drew Brees retired 4 years ago.
Has it really been that long?
It's been at least 3. I mean, I can see.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
God damn it! But it's like, what the hell are you spending money? I mean, Cam Jordan's not getting younger. Get rid of, trade him. Purge his salary. God, like Mrs. Benson, for the love of God, just because you cut your stepkids out of the freaking team doesn't mean. Sorry, I'm being a dick tonight. I do not apologize.
You're not wrong.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm a dick, but like, yeah,
it happened.
I wrote about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. How much of a dick can you really be if you're just speaking a fact? That happened.
Thanks for my dad's logic and things, Phil. By the way,
it's a great situation.
It's an effed up situation. I mean, for the love of God, it's like I don't see them. I mean, the problem with Derek Carr going there. Yeah, I got it right. I was thinking it was a Derek or David, but they're like, I don't see the team getting better. And now they have to work with Marcus Mariota's contract, not Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston's contract that they just signed him to. They're paying Taysom Hill like $500 million to be like, fast and not do a whole lot of anything else.
Who's got a more screwed up quarterback situation as far as all the quarterbacks on their roster? New Orleans or San Francisco?
Well, in defense, San Francisco's all are hurt.
But that's what I mean as far as the overall situation. San Francisco.
And Garoppolo
always in the dark about who their quarterback's going to be because they're never healthy for more than a certain period of time.
I would say San Francisco just because they're like a rolling. I mean, Jesus. I mean, I wouldn't be. I mean, as long as I know he filed his paperwork.
It's Russian roulette.
Hey, mark my words. I think Brady might be their starting quarterback week 1 because he's delaying his Chinese contract. I mean, he's from the area. He always wanted to play for San Francisco.
That's right.
I mean, God, they have
they are desperate.
They literally have no quarterbacks on roster right now. They're healthy.
Yeah, because Johnson got concussed in the NFC title game. Trey Lance had the knee, right? It was the knee injury.
Well, it was an ankle injury. He broke his leg and dislocated his
Ankle, sorry, ankle. And Purdy had
Yeah, Tommy John surgery.
hell, he had to get it delayed because of the swelling from the injury to begin with.
I gotta be a little homer for a second, but like, what the hell did Josh Allen do all year? Because he has the same injury. Like Grant's not as severe, but he played with that same injury. He has a partially torn UCL in his rib.
It must have been not as must. I mean, this for Purdy, it must have been just
because he stopped throwing the ball.
he couldn't throw the ball.
Yeah, he probably tried. He's like,
Well, you saw the one pass that Purdy attempted when he came back in was that little. That's all he could do. But Allen's must have been. Tis but a flesh wound. By comparison.
By comparison, maybe, or Josh is just built superhumanly. He's got an manager or some shit in him. Because watch that.
These players with these shots at halftime.
I mean, you don't think Patrick Mahomes was on something in the AFC title game in the Super Bowl?
That was the first thing. I was watching the game with my family. That's the first thing. Okay, they'll give him the shot. Whatever the shot is, they'll give him the shot at halftime. And
you may give him a shot too.
Yeah, I mean, because
I was saying, watch the Bills Jets game when he gets hurt, like Allen, and then watch the last play of the game when he corks it I think it was 62 yards. It was the longest throw in the last 5 years in the NFL in the air. Either he's got more adrenaline pumping through his body than anyone in human history.
Adrenaline is a hell of a thing.
I can tell you all about it.
Oh, that's right. Well, you told me a couple stories in the past.
Yeah, we won't go into. I'm
had some pretty. You've had some fun injuries back in the day. If I may be an asshole, some fun.
I'll try. I don't remember some of them because concussion joke, but
yeah.
But back to tie this back to Chicago and Carolina. Chicago's still in the top 10. I mean, I was telling, if I'm them, what I do is honest to God, you're gonna hate me for saying this, but what Chicago's got to do is to be successful this year, because they got the quarterback in place. Theoretically,
and now they got a receiver.
They have a receiver core. Mooney's no slouch. They got DJ Moore.
You don't have to feel like a dick because I'm a Packer guy. I've known now for a couple of years the Packers and that tyrant reign over the NFC North is done. It's over. That division is wide open now, whether it's Minnesota or Detroit. And Chicago, if they just would stop being Chicago.
They got to sell the damn team. That's what they got to do. Jordan McCaskey needs to sell the goddamn team. She's 407 years old.
And they never will. They never will, especially now that they're going to get that new stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're still talking about them. They're talking about putting a dome on top of Soldier Field.
Now I'll say this: I do remember hearing or reading stories about that being a possibility for off and on for the last 20 years. So I'll believe that when it actually happens. I think that's why this new thing. I think that's why they're trying to get this new stadium built, is because the dome is never going to happen on Soldier Field. So fine, we'll build our own dome stadium then.
Well, I was going to get so you got the quarterback in place theoretically. You don't have a really good running game, so you've got a good receiver core. You got Cole Kmet, your tight end. Okay, cool. What you do in the offseason this year, starting tomorrow? I talked to the best offensive linemen there are right now. Mm-hmm. Sign 2 or 3 of them. Really, really tool that offensive line. Okay, then the pick 9, take Bijan Robinson out of Texas, and you know what?
Yes,
you're a playoff team. And mark my words, you're a playoff team next year.
And their defense over the years has always been one of the consistent with that team. Even when it hasn't been stellar, it's always been good enough.
And then you just you bolster the offensive line, you get that. Cool, you're done with that. Bijan Robinson, you still have another. You still have a first round. You still got you have 2 second round picks. Spend them on defense. Bolster that offensive line. I mean, you gutted your defense because you didn't want to pay Roquan Smith $20 million a year. Cool. Get his draft his replacement or sign a middle linebacker. There's plenty of them out there. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah, I have to admit, you're right that they made it out really good with this move, and that Carolina. I mean, for Carolina, I guess the nice
I think they have 3 seconds actually.
is
Sorry, my bad.
what?
They have 3 second round picks this year because they got the
Oh,
Jaquan
Jesus.
Smith trade.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
forgot
I
about
mean
that.
they're gonna be in good shape. Like they're
They're
gonna be
gonna
like
load up if they're
if they
smart.
don't if they don't draft like Chicago has drafted, yeah. Like I hated the Fields pick, but if you build an offensive line around the guy, he's been running he ran over almost every team except for like Buffalo. But like if he can keep running like he's been doing, like cool. You got like the legit running back of the draft. They can play who's getting the ball. This fast guy
And
that's quarterback.
as
And
if
then
I needed more to be, as if
well, like,
more to be anxious about as a Packer fan is the possibility that those guys are actually going to pull it together.
no, I doubt it. Chicago
Well,
gonna
that's
fuck
true.
it up somehow.
That's why I said,
Again, McCaskey's
stop
got to
being
sell.
Chicago, it could be a problem. But
If George Halas was still alive, I would be like, oh shit.
well, if George Hallis was alive, they probably wouldn't have spent like the last 10 years in mediocrity or worse.
No, I'll say Marcus would be a probably gift.
Carolina, I mean, this is a gamble, period.
This
They're
is like
mortgaging a lot of their future on this one pick,
yeah,
and it's
because
pretty amazing.
I mean, I would get it if you were getting. I mean, I don't see why they didn't try. Like, honestly, guy, why don't they go for Lamar? It costs you 2 first-round picks. That's it.
Compared to
So
what
the
they
DJ
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a friggin' bargain. Like I want to see who goes after Lamar because I know a team's gonna make it. They're gonna make a sweet art offer to him, and they're gonna see if Baltimore's gonna match it. I mean, the good news for
That'll be
Baltimore,
interesting.
the good news for Baltimore is teams can't poison pill you anymore.
That's true.
Because this would be the definition of it. Like, make a rule saying like, yeah, I'll pay them, like, especially if you're an NFC team, or like, or if you're no, sorry, if you're an AFC team, would be better. It's like, I like the contract only fully guarantees if this is what a definition. If you didn't know what a poison pill is, I'm explaining it now. It's like, say like the Bills joining Lamar Jackson, just go with it for 20 seconds.
Yep.
They put a clause in the contract that says like, if he plays like more than 2 games in a season in the state of Maryland, this contract becomes fully guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff like that. Like they used to do shit like that all the time. It's like that's how it's like how what New England did to Miami. When they got Wes Welker out of Miami. They put something they put in, and it was like I think Belichick had something like if you play 2 games in the state of Florida in 1 year, the full contract fully guarantees it was like a 2-year deal.
Wow.
And Miami but it was like something like $20 million. Like it was for total, it was like $10 million a year, and when court receivers were making like 4. So Miami's like,
It's
like,
it'll be interesting
you
to see
can-
how
you
many
can
takers there are for Lamar. I will.
I have so many questions about that knee. I have so many questions about how can it perform without Greg Roman. I have too many goddamn questions right now.
And I think that's why it's going to be interesting to see. It's not like it's going to be a sweepstakes with him. There's
I
not
don't see it, but
crawling over themselves
Indy-
despite his talent. There's
Indy might go from
crawling over themselves
desperate.
to get him.
I mean, Ursay's coked out of his mind. He might be one of them. Yeah, I mean, he's the crazy. I mean, he's the X factor. That's like, I think that if any team's going to do it, that's in the top 10 that needs a quarterback. They're it. They'll gladly give up pick 4 for Lamar Jackson because, like, hey, cool.
Sure.
Baltimore, who's going to throw you you're going to have Tyler Huntley all year?
Congratulations. Who's going to throw to him?
Who's going to throw too? It's like you have no receivers. You have, I mean, you got like the third highest paid tight end in football. Your offense line's pretty good. You're gonna have you have a good defense, but like again, you have Tyler
But
Huntley
you can't rely on
all
that
year.
completely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're
guy.
and they. I told my friend who's a big Ravens fan, is like, well, why can't we get a receiver for Lamar? It's like because you don't have the balls to trade. It's like you guys build through the draft. Sometimes you can't do that.
Correct. As a Packer fan, I've learned that the hard way over the years.
I mean, like what the Bills did, it's like cool. We took a gamble. We took the proven commodity over the unknown, and both teams worked out. It's like, yeah, we gave up pick 22 or 21, whichever it was, to Minnesota for Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Sure, that pick would turn into Justin Jefferson, who's the best receiver in football.
But it paid
But
off just fine for you guys as well.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if
But
Justin,
it's
if
tough.
Justin,
Yeah.
but Justin Jefferson could have been also the second coming of Troy Williamson, who they drafted out of South Carolina when they traded away Randy Moss.
It's true. It's
He could have been absolutely awful and been like, what the hell? I don't know. I mean, I'm speaking of especially speaking of Mr. Justin Jefferson. I can't wait to see his contract as a receiver.
oh god.
He might get close to Danny Dimes money.
I was gonna say his could set a new
Oh
standard
God,
future.
it
wide
will
receiver
set the
contracts.
standard. It will set the standard for receiver contracts for years.
Yeah. And I'm talking not just the overall contract, but how much they're going to guarantee that guy as well.
I would give him I would give him the Derek Carr. I would give him the Derek Carr contract and not think anything of it. He's just so damn good.
Yeah. And
Like give him
you want to lock
give
him
him 4
in.
years.
You want
like
to
give
lock
him
him in. Oh,
I have to give him 5 years, like 175 million, and guarantee like 100 of it, just because he's so goddamn good.
again, as a Packer fan, just more stuff to be anxious about, more stuff to be just that nervous energy. Football season's not for another, the regular season that isn't for another 5.5 months. And so much to dread. God.
Just be cool and just suck for like 4 years and then finally get Arch
No,
Manning.
never.
Yeah, because you guys have never been bad before the 1990s ever.
But I didn't have to live through that. The only time I had to live through the Packers being legitimately bad were those couple of seasons in the early 2000s where, well, and that
When Rodgers would get his shoulder explode.
there were a couple of years in like the mid 2000s where one year they were 4-12. I think.
Yeah, the years that Rodgers got hurt, the shoulder.
Oh no,
injuries
when
and
Favre
five-
was still playing, there was a couple of years right at the
sure.
end. But other than that, yeah, I've never had to really experience pro. That's why I've always been a fan of your
do you remember
stamina
the-
as a fan because of what you've had to deal with Buffalo or the recent.
Do you remember the Magic Man?
Yes, I do. He was the first quarterback when I was a fan, when I became a football fan and it was a kid, Don Mikowski, the Magic Man.
Yeah. I think every team can kiss my ass about like their team being bad for a little bit. I'm sorry, like you just mentioned, yeah, I'm a Bills fan. Okay,
I know.
had to deal
I know
the quarterbacks I've had to deal with. The team that's. At least I can say honestly, God, despite they had some really good years, I'm not a Jets fan. I'm sorry.
That's
They've been looking for a quarterback since Namath. And I can argue Joe's not even that good. Most Jet fans agree with
considering
it.
he had more interceptions and touchdowns. He was too much of a gunslinger for his own good, but
He also drank too much for his own good, but that's a whole different
well,
story.
yes, that's a different story. Susie Culver can attest because but you're right, for the Jets, they've been looking for
Namath,
53
years for a quarterback.
Ken O'Brien, who was fine, he had a fine career.
They gave Neil O'Donnell like $14 million over 3 years in like 1995 after the Pistons went to the Super Bowl.
And they had Pennington.
They
for a
Pennington
while.
Tester Verdi. They had Boomer Esiason for 2 years.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's
They
right.
had Frank Reich. They had
Or
had a lot of
they were just taking like, please somebody be the here.
again, the thing that pisses me off, I'm gonna be a 100% homer and just own up to it. It's like I hated during the Bills game, was it last year? The Bills Jets game when they're like, oh yeah, the Jets were the Bills were 4 years ago. So were the Jets 4 years ago. They draft a quarterback and they can't find the answer.
Correct.
They've spent 2 top 3 draft picks in the last 8 years in the last 6 years on quarterbacks, and both of them suck.
Now they had for the Jets, they had the one season with Favre, and then they had the Sanchez, Mr. Butt Fumble.
Yeah, Mr. I got to the AFC title game because my goddamn defense was arguably one of the best of all time because thanks to Rex.
Yep. And now they're gonna go back to the well, apparently, with another legendary Packer quarterback to try to get him to the promised land, and it won't happen.
Yeah, because you have to. You're right now. Even if you got Aaron Rodgers on your team, you're the third best team in the division.
Correct. And
Who's
that,
one and who two?
oh
I
boy,
don't know between both, especially with the thing we're going to talk about now is like the Jalen Ramsey trade. Is Miami better than Buffalo? I don't know.
it's amazing how that division in a very quick amount of time went from
New England and everyone else for like the
to
last 20 years.
one of the better divisions in football. Really, I mean, it's a competitive division.
I just don't know what New England does. Like New England's a wild card. It's like they like Belichick doesn't spend money, like except that 1 year he spent like on receivers and court with tight ends, but it's like he doesn't spend money. He's like,
No,
I mean, yes, he's always had Brady. He always had Brady, but guys, he still drafted quarterbacks.
he drafted
That
Jimmy.
was he drafted Jimmy G. He drafted Matt Castle.
That's right. Yep. And now
He got like a
Mac
4th
Jones
round pick out of
experiment.
Kansas City for him. Yeah, and I mean, granted, you don't have Brady ahead of him, but still, it's like, yeah, you've taken all these team. The thing that helped everything was like, and no, and that's one thing I will give Tom Brady all the credit in the world for. I mean, yes, he's the greatest of all time, without question, he is.
yes,
But the fact that he even in Tampa Bay, he took less goddamn money so they could build a monster team around him.
that's right.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, he made less money than Josh Allen did on his 5th-year option.
Ain't that something? It's just that's pretty.
He made he made 15 million this year. Josh Allen's 5th-year option, which all the quarterbacks 5th-year options that took him was like 16 and a half. It's, I mean, good, it's a $500,000, but it's like
Brady.
look at the escalator.
It's like Brady gave the secret away in a sense.
Yeah,
Guys, if
and
you actually win, take a little bit of a cut, let the team get you some help, and you'll be a winner. And
yeah, and you'll be a winner for 2 decades.
And
holy shit,
greed and the desire for money, which is understandable, but that being what it is, a lot of people just didn't take the hint.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly felt like something like Russell Wilson was the first quarterback to do it again. It's like, could you imagine that Seattle? He'd still be on Seattle.
Yeah,
and they'd still be winning. They probably won 3 or 4 Super Bowls. Ugh. Like I wish the guy. I was annoyed that. I mean, I'm happy Josh is here long term, but it's like, God, if he took say like a 6-year extension worth like, we'll say even like low ball, we'll go 150 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't care if it was fully guaranteed. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it's 25 million a year. That's a lot of money now. So okay, cool.
Yes,
and it's all guaranteed. And all of a sudden, magically, hey, I can keep a Trey Lance. I can keep a Jordan Poyer for a couple more years. Oh, I need another receiver. Oh, I need another defensive lineman. Cool. I just paid $120 million for Von Miller. Hey, I need another defensive tackle. Oh, hell, I need an offensive line that you can block.
It'd be a team that would be getting a lot further than the divisional round every year. They'd be
I guarantee you,
on a regular basis. They'd be contending for conference championships. Probably would have made a Super Bowl.
Probably won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it could be. You're right.
You'd see a lot of fires in South Buffalo.
Boy, if the day comes,
you better make your ass here because I need someone to photo document me like the biggest party you've ever seen.
Yeah, no kidding. When the day comes, that city is going to be shut down for a week.
It's going to be shut down for another 5 because it's going to be halfway, it's going to be burned.
I was going to say the rebuilding process.
I was going to say invest if you got a little secret. Like I don't know if it's insider trading, but like if the Bills make the Super Bowl, you might want to buy a few shares of Home Depot.
Yeah, they're gonna.
There's going to be a couple of tables be broken that week.
Oh yeah, broken, burned, otherwise damaged beyond all recognition. Totally agree.
Kill people being power bombed through the table. You know, it happens.
Bills Mafia.
The craziest thing is I've only seen that like 3 times now at all the Bill games I go to.
I know it's one of those things where
the fuckery is way worse.
Well, yeah, the national media a lot of times will latch on to something and without context, and we'll just run with it, like you said. That it's not like the power bombing through the table thing happens every single game. It happens like all over the stadium. But it's funny
only because Tommy Drew put someone through the table with a death driver doesn't mean a thing. Okay,
exactly.
I'm still baffled that he showed up to a Bills game.
It's not like it was not like it was a Bills Jets or Bills Giants game. He just showed up.
Maybe he was bored. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
and this was it was like 2 days before that. That Beyond the Mat was Royce's thing.
Dark Side of the Ring.
Is it Dark Side of the Ring? Yeah, it was like 2 days before the whole Ric Flair one came out.
Oof. Boy, did he
Yeah,
look in that one.
yeah. That was
Came off looking real bad, and not just his hair. Because that was when he was doing that. I don't know if he's still doing it because I think he's back.
It was the
And I don't watch really any.
it was the boys.
But
It was the boys, but it would be boys. Although I have to say that the best thing in wrestling, we'll jump to pro wrestling now because why the fuck not? Because it's WrestleMania season. That bloodline storyline has been amazing.
yeah, I mean, from what I've gathered about it and some of the clips I've seen and reviews I've read, I have gotten to the point where I do not watch any current wrestling. I never thought I would get to that point, but I'm there.
You should watch. You should watch the Sami Zayn.
Watch clips. I see clips and summaries and stuff.
You should
actively watch it. It's
You
just
should, but you should seek out that Roman Reigns Sami Zayn match just to hear the crowd pop for Sami Zayn.
the one in Montreal.
Yes,
Yeah, that makes sense. But
it's not that. Oh,
I
but
haven't watched WWE, any WWE television in almost 4 years now. AEW.
There's some really good things in WWE right now. I can tell you
Oh,
that much.
sure. I it's just to me, just in the overall scheme of things, to me, it's just not worth the effort anymore or the time.
I get it.
I see clips and whatnot, and I get the gist.
Yeah,
Keep up with what's going on. I just don't actively watch it. AEW, I haven't watched in 6
they are.
months. I don't plan on going at this point.
They are so screwed.
Even Japan. Japan got too Americanized as far as New Japan goes, and the other promotions just aren't available enough where it none of it seems worth it to me anymore. I never
Honestly, though,
2 years ago, I never thought I'd get to that point, but I'm here.
I would say the thing you should watch actually with WWE too is to watch actually that whole Elimination Chamber pay per view from Montreal, especially
I will watch the whole thing.
watch the U.S. title Elimination Chamber match. They made 3 stars in that match.
What was that? That was Theory.
Bronson Reed,
Okay.
Seth Rollins, and
That's wrong.
Montez Ford is gonna be a world champion.
Yeah, I've heard of him, and I can't remember where he was if he was anywhere before WWE. But anyway, it's just one of those things where
I know, but
I'm just not. I keep up with the business because I still love it like that, but I just don't have the desire to watch any of it live. And yeah, AEW is fucked right now for a number of reasons. Mainly who's in charge. But that's all.
Montez Ford made himself. Montez Ford made himself a star in that match.
Okay.
I didn't realize how good he was, so they saw that. I was like, holy shit. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with Roman and Cody at Mania.
I think Cody's the one. I think he's the one to finally to take that belt away from Roman. I think he's going to be the one.
Yeah, it's crazy. It sounds with stuff like they've done a little bit lately. It's like, I don't know. I mean,
I'm not saying as a guarantee because there's been several people that have come along where you thought he might be the guy to get that. But at the same time, what an amazing fuck you to AEW and Tony Khan it would be. Where a year ago, Cody was on his way out of AEW, and now he's main eventing WrestleMania and winning the title. Wouldn't that be the biggest fuck you to the competition that you can imagine?
Actually, to me, the biggest fuck you would be actually what there's rumors that I don't think he'd ever go, but like they say in pro wrestling, never say never. What was if because his contract's up soon? They say it's 6 months away because of his injuries, but if he could get his way out, but have Roman win if they know they got the ace in the hole with it, which they might. If say Kenny Omega shows up the night after Mania,
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think that would be that big a deal overall. I don't.
If they kept it as a hush hush thing, it'd be a big deal, but it wouldn't be
in that moment. It might be, but in overall, his impact would be minimal at best in WWE. The luster has been gone with him for a number of years. When it comes to his matches, first of all, he sucks on the mic. And that's,
Oh God, yes.
and the thing is in WWE, the way their program is mapped out, that's the key. They don't really care about matches in WWE. They care about the interviews. They care about the personalities. No.
With Triple H in charge, I think it's changed a bit more. They've definitely stretched more match quality.
I'll be honest though, I just don't see it. The other thing is the health issues, because
I know.
he cares a lot more than AEW as far as the getting cleared medically thing. They understand liability a lot better than I think Tony does.
Well, I think after Owen Hart and Eddie Guerrero, I think they helped a lot.
And I just don't think he would have that kind of impact in WWE. I really don't. I honestly don't at this point. He's not going to be able to work with these guys that style of wrestling.
I have to say though, I love most of WrestleMania's card.
I know some of the matches on it. It's a 2-night. I hate the thing. I think that's crap. I think that's garbage.
I think it's better than having 1 6-hour night.
I don't. I'll be completely honest. I don't. It takes some of the luster away, in my opinion. And you're basically waiting that first night. You're basically making the card up for the second night as you go along. I didn't like it. New Japan did that a couple of years with their Tokyo.
Well, and now they're 3 nights.
What?
I think they're under 3 nights now.
No, it's 2.
I thought they did over 2. I thought they did like 2, like Monday, Sunday, like a 2 nights thing. Like in like the next week, they had like one more night of it
for
Wrestle Kingdom. I thought they made it 3 nights because they got so much shit.
No, they always do a show the next night after the 2 Tokyo Dome shows. Now it's
okay.
Thankfully, where they basically set up. It's kind of like the Raw after WrestleMania thing. I think they're thinking about it, but they didn't draw enough money to those shows, enough people, and enough money to really justify it.
I mean,
plus, I'm sure COVID, like a lot of things,
COVID
played a part and screwed that up. But yeah, Kenny and WWE, dude, how long would it take, in all seriousness, how long would it take for Kenny to have, he's got a couple of friends there, but that's it. It's not like he's insulated the way he is in AEW. How long would it take for him to get
he's insulated in WWE
with somebody in that locker room that really matters?
Oh, I know. I'm looking at the card. Here's the card so far. If you guys even know them all, like, obviously you know the main event, Roman Reigns versus Cody, which is great. It's me a great match.
Oh yeah, that'll be
like I'm so sorry. I'm still bitter about 2 years ago when Omega got wrestler of the year over Roman. It's like Roman's the best heel in wrestling. He's by far the best heel in wrestling. Even because he's got 3 belts. Well, Roman can't wrestle anywhere else. You don't think if Roman went to AAA or CMLL or like New Japan, you don't think he'd be
those belts? A lot of those belts were worthless anyway. I mean, Impact, seriously.
Yeah, one of the AAA World Champions. You don't think if Roman could wrestle for all these different companies, you don't think he'd be going like Matt Cardona and having like 83 world titles.
If Roman Reigns had the opportunity, if WWE allowed him to venture out, they would be kissing his boots to get him to, you want us to make you our champion and you only defend it once a year? Okay, fine.
Yeah.
We don't care.
The women's title match is going to be fun.
That's Bianca Belair and
Asuka.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
And Flair versus Ripley, the rematch.
That one, it'll be interesting to see if they do the right thing this time at WrestleMania as opposed to.
I think they're gonna have Rhea win it.
Yeah, well, they better.
She's the most. And then Holy Judgment Day stable. She's by far the most over.
Oh,
and it's not even close.
Without a doubt.
I mean, the match I don't give a shit about is Lesnar almost because Brock told Triple H that he didn't want to face Bray Wyatt.
You know, and you know what I wish? I remember for a brief minute there was a rumor that it was going to be Lesnar and Gunther, Walter. That would have been.
Well, you know what the match is now? It's gonna be. It's me. I'm calling Gunther because it's. I mean, he is
Yeah, I
Gunther now.
know.
Because
It's
he's
the
like,
same.
well, no, because he's also like 30. He's like, dude, have you seen him? He's like 50 pounds
Yes.
lighter.
Yes,
He's
he got
Gunther.
himself.
He got himself in shape.
He did.
I mean, if you
And it's not
if
like he was in terrible shape before, but yes, notice
but
different.
after the Rumble, he's
Noticeably different. Yes. Good
he's
for
getting
him.
he's getting a championship run this year. I'm guaranteeing they're gonna split the
I think
belts
so.
back up.
How
Well,
much
you heard
money
what
do
you
you
did.
think they paid him to finally come to America full time?
I
he-
don't even want to know.
All those years that he was fine
What-
every now and again, but he loved
Did
wrestling.
you heard about what he did at the Rumble, right?
Off the top of my head, I'm sure I did, but again, a lot of the stuff I just don't care to even.
He almost went coast to coast. He wasn't there for an hour and 10 minutes. He obliterated the record.
I'm not surprised.
No, and like he was
His since the first time I saw him in,
I mean,
Revolution Pro over in Europe.
him and Cody Rhodes wrestled a 10-minute match at the end of the Rumble.
Yeah.
It was
They're going to do something big with him this year. At least they should.
well,
They should.
the big rumor it says to be determined, but supposedly it's gonna be Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre.
That seems to be from.
And the best thing you can do with that is you can have like Drew pin Sheamus or Sheamus pin Drew, and like Gunther looks super strong, and then you can
Yeah.
and here's the kicker: what you can do is say we're gonna give it to Cody. You have him face Cody for the Universal title at whatchamacallit at SummerSlam, because SummerSlam's in England.
Oh, I did not know that, but that makes a lot of
I mean,
sense.
no, sorry, Money in the Bank's in England.
Then yeah, have it there. Agreed.
It has Gunther win the title there.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I mean, the reason why I say the only thing
And then if they wanted him to drop it the following month, no harm, no foul, because they got what they wanted out of it anyway, with the big gate
right,
and the big moment. Yeah, that'd be cool.
or I said, or hell, have Gunther beat Roman, and that's why I said Roman may hold on to it till then, and like, because then also the
Maybe.
big thing is like if Roman beats Cody, do you hear that he's gonna be over if he keeps it to like Money in the Bank in England? He'll be over 1,000 days with the Universal Championship. It's like the second longest reign in WWE history.
Yeah, and they might keep it on him for that specific purpose. They might, but I say
The crazy thing,
Yeah.
he's still so super over as a heel. He's the
I
most
agree.
over.
but I don't think
It's
that
a-
don't think that will change exponentially if he loses the belt. I think he would
Mhm.
be able, especially because
See,
if it did
I
change
was-
a little bit, all they would have to do is say to Heyman, okay, Paul, how about we have you talk a little bit more than you have been in these promos and get some of that heat back on Roman. Wouldn't be that hard. I just think the time is now to pull the trigger on Cody.
I would have
Momentum.
honestly not had. I mean, as much as I would honestly got screwed Sami Zayn in Montreal. Like have like Roman put him in the guillotine, like how you choked out Goldberg. Have him just choke it out, and just ring the bell.
That's been so overplayed over the years.
But no. That's not what I'm. Then you set up a triple threat match, or you set up a triple threat match, or you set up two matches. Roman gets cocky, says, "I can beat you again, and I'll beat Cody too."
Fair enough, I guess.
And you separate, and you have the both main match be a Roman versus whichever one you want the first one night and the other night, and you have like Cody
That's
win
fair
the
enough.
WWE. But I was gonna say the reason why is, or better yet, you reach back for something from WrestleMania 2000. You do a triple threat match, 2-fall match for both championships.
Oh, sure.
And you have Cody beat Sammy for like the WWE Championship. You have Sammy beat Roman for the Universal Championship, and then Roman goes, and the next night on Raw shows up, and he's beyond pissed. Like he goes full nuclear bomb.
Well,
He goes full like when I say nuclear bomb, I mean like Kane. Like he just
I
kills
know what you're
everyone.
talking about.
Like,
I understand what you're saying.
He takes out Paul. He takes out Paul Heyman. He takes out the bloodline, and then Triple H comes out and he just knocks him out. He just punches him in the face. He can take one punch in the face.
I mean, it wouldn't exactly be a terrible idea.
Make him the most evil monster heel ever. That's what I would do.
He would get a brief face pop if he knocked Heyman out. let's at least. But I agree with you. And then for Triple H, because everybody knows about his health conditions in real life, that would definitely
Or do you? I mean,
What about
you? I mean, I
no,
would.
she's home. She's home. That's right. She went home.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's
Could
Vince.
you?
Maybe Vince is like, I'm the boss is coming back out, and then bam.
Yeah, they tease him coming back out like, "Hey, I'm back in charge," and Roman just comes out and just.
Where are the
punches him in the face.
paralegals? That's gonna live forever when it comes.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
that
Or
joke,
like,
or
or
variation
someone,
of that joke will live forever.
or one of the things, or something, or like, talk to a doctor beforehand. Don't do it on camera, obviously. But like I said, have him go to have Triple H go to a doctor. Say, "Doc, can I take one punch to the chest?"
No,
If,
I,
they,
no, do it to the face. Don't even. You can't risk that with him. With his condition, I mean, he's got a mini defibrillator in his chest, man. You can't risk that.
that's why you do it.
But certain spots, I don't think you can risk that when we're talking
Maybe,
intimate,
yeah, I know.
life or death thing. In theory, I totally agree with you. That would be the way to do it. But because it's real, and not real,
That's-
but I don't think you can risk it like that.
And I think, and John Cena's gonna
It
pass
might
the
be
torch
better to
also.
punch Vince in that situation.
Yeah, just him just come out and just cold cock him.
There you go.
Well, I mean, he'd definitely get a face pop, but he'd still be like, yeah, Vince just breaks characters. Like, it would be like, he'd call him by his name, call him like, Joe, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Since they don't mind doing that anyway. Yeah.
I mean, they're better about that, but like, yeah, just have him go, Joe, we're gonna fire you if you can't calm down.
And then he,
And just kicks him.
I mean, that would be a way to keep him as the top heel, even if he were in that scenario to lose both of the belts. Agreed. I don't think, obviously, they could go a number of ways. We've kind of laid out, keep it for Money in the Bank and the 1,000-day reign, drop it to Cody. They can go a ways with it.
I love the fact that they've kept him for like 3 years without being pinned.
That is amazing for WWE, considering our
In 2023.
I'd say at any time anytime in the, I guess you could say the Raw era, but the weekly live TV era, it's amazing that you can do that with anybody, let alone the world champion. So I do give them credit for that. Without a doubt.
And he's on TV almost every week.
Every week. He is
He's
ship.
He's the face that runs the place.
He's the straw that stirs the drink, whatever way you want to say it. He's the man. Top dog, big dog, whatever. He's the man.
He's the best wrestler in the world. And then
isn't it amazing that a decade ago they were trying to shove him down everybody's throats and it led to a full-on fan rebellion, and now after letting him just do his thing several years, he is the top heel in the business. Period.
Well, isn't it coincidence that the same thing happened to The Rock? You were forced for Dwayne Johnson a lot too at the beginning. He was not as good as Roman.
Yeah. There you go.
So yeah, like I said, then the other two matches are Austin Theory versus John Cena, and John Cena's gonna pass the torch.
That's the hope.
No,
John
I
know.
It's for the US title.
I know. And in theory, blah, 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 blah. But I saw the promo or clips of it. I think they clipped
I laughed
halfway through, but boy, that's I hope they're really going somewhere with this, because I saw, again, I think they clipped it a little bit, but it seemed like, okay, yes, you want me to watch this match and get invested in this match, but you just squatted over the guy and took a giant shit on him. And I get why, and I understand the whole dynamic, the cocky new guy and the old veteran, the top guy thing, but it seemed like a lot. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's because
it was
thing. I don't know. It just seemed like one for the first promo. If we're weeks into it, or maybe even the go home show before Mania, maybe a different story, but it just seemed like a lot for the introduction to the feud. You get me invested in this chase to this match, but it just seemed, I don't know.
I mean, I'm happy there's more. Like, there's a lot of women on the show. There have been 6-woman tag team match too. Trish, Lita, and Becky Lynch versus Bailey, Dakota Sky, and Io Sky.
Yeah, but the idea that you got to bring back veterans from 20 years ago is not exactly an
So,
endorsement of the current state of a division. Just saying.
well, they. Oh, I agree. That's it's like I said, and also they've already named 2 Hall of Famers too.
Yeah, Mysterio I saw, and
Muda,
who?
Muda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because he's retired. Yeah, for good.
I think they also. Yeah, I still think. Well, I think they also did for WWE did for one of Muda's last matches.
Oh yeah.
They sent Shinsuke.
They let
over there,
Shinsuke go. That's right. In January, they let him go there for a show. Yeah, in Yokohama. I saw that. And they even for that show, I remember they even got shoot, what's his name?
Ding, Darby Allin.
No. For Shinsuke's match with Muda, I remember they got. I'm trying to remember his name. The violinist who played him in at the takeover.
Oh, Lee Unglin.
Lee English, right? English.
Yeah, I think it's
They got
England. Yeah,
So that was cool. Yeah, I know. For Muda's last match, it was some 6-man with Sting and Darby, whatever.
and they'll get And I think they'll have Shinsuke induct him.
That'd be interesting. I'm trying to think.
Well, he's the biggest.
Who really should induct him?
It should be Sting.
Correct. In a world where that's possible, I agree. That would because that's the most famous feud that he had on American soil.
It might still happen. Don't be surprised, because I
That's
know
true.
Sting and because they've been Triple H is apparently he's opened doors with Triple A and CMLL.
It's fair. It could, and because because of Muda's limited exposure in America post 1989, I agree. There's not too many.
Unless it's Shinsuke. It's Shinsuke. Well, the nice thing is see and did you see who they got for Ray? I was kind of surprised.
No.
Who would you have him induct Ray? If anyone alive. Let me just preface that.
Boy, I mean, at least you got some options there. I could think of a couple names, I guess, for good feuds that he had or over the years, but who'd they get?
Who would be the last person you ever see back in WWE? There's your one hint.
Jericho. Well, for right now, Jericho.
Jericho would be phenomenal, but no. Think older.
Oh, jeez.
Who introduced?
You're dragging this thing out here.
Oh, I know. I'm doing it to be a dick to you. Who introduced Paul Heyman to Rey Mysterio?
Oh man, I'm gonna hate myself.
Former WCW US champion.
I'm drawing a blank. I should know this because you're giving me the right hints.
He's alive. Come on. There's only 4 guys you could probably think of, and then probably 3 of them are dead. Sorry, Eddie. Sorry, Eddie. Sorry, Chris. I mean, I thought Chavo would have made sense too, by the way.
I was okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, or yeah.
You'd be in the right country. I'll give you that one more hint. Conan's inducting him.
Conan. They got Conan. Well, okay. That'll be an interesting speech.
Yeah, I'm sure Kevin Dunn's has got a ping. He's probably right now, I'm gonna kill this show. I'm gonna kill this show.
Do you think he makes a Max Moon reference during the speech?
I hope he does.
And most people, any wrestling fan that stumbles on this will not know what we're talking about there. So don't give it away. Just let them. Anybody who were to see this and not know Max Moon, look up the picture. That's all I'll say there.
Yeah, and then but if you don't want to,
I should have guessed that. The U.S. champion thing threw me off because I totally forgot that Conan had that belt for a hot minute back in 96. I totally
95. Yeah, he beat the One Man Gang for
One Man Gang. Yeah, and I think he lost it to Flair.
Yep.
So
he lost it to Flair. He lost it to Flair.
It's coming back.
Well, no one remembers the Flair title change because of what happened about an hour later.
which was Hogan joining the NWO.
And that's why they did it then and there.
A lot of people will forget things, because of that.
I mean, I just casually watched Bash of the Beach '96 like about a couple months ago. I'm like,
it was actually a good show. Mysterio and Psychosis,
yeah,
one of the great openers in wrestling history.
That was one of the best pay-per-views. Before that match even happened, that match sucked for the record, but the impact's infinite.
Well, that was all story. You talk about the main event.
That was the second best storytelling of all time, and that's what Eric Bischoff says too. You know what?
Yeah,
he considers the NWO the second best. Can you believe that?
I mean,
he considers the Bloodline better.
Well, he's saying that, I think, right now. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying when you say something in the moment is the best ever, the great, it just comes off as fucking up.
But consider the NWO was his baby. I'm surprised he'd say it.
Well, if you choose to believe that.
His baby that he stole.
From Kevin Sullivan, who was the actual architect of it. And they both ripped it off from Japan.
That's what I said, that he stole.
Because, yeah. But
no. You know how the NWO was formed? It was with Greg Gagne.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah.
Kevin Nash.
Pretty good.
What by was.
That's pretty.
What's that mean?
Yeah, that was a
the fact he did a straight face is even better.
Well, he's good at it, doing straight face for stuff that
we need to get reality. We need to get him and Oliver on a podcast just like.
Well, they got their own thing going on now.
Yeah, and their thing's good. Click this.
Yeah, I've watched some clips. Well, Sean's always been a great interview. I've seen all the. But I've seen
Sean's
kayfabe commentary stuff.
He's the perfect straight guy.
Yes, 100%. He's got a Hollywood resume, right, Sean Oliver?
Yeah. If he's got like a director. Yeah, he's got like a director.
A lot of stuff was like a voice thing. I remember the first time
like video. I think it was like video game references too.
But
I think he's a voice actor.
Yes, exactly.
For like video games and all that.
Which makes sense. I mean,
it's that Jersey accent with like 4 packs a day of smoking.
But yeah, people forget how good a roster WCW. I mean, everybody remembers NWO in that whole era, but people forget how good of a roster WCW actually had.
Their mid card was better than anything. Their mid card was better than the main event scene.
Once they lost it a couple years later, I mean,
I think the end was coming no matter what.
Fair enough, but man, did their show as a whole never recover.
Oh, never. No, that never recovered. But I think they were dead in the water after like 98 or like 97 even. I think if
you've ever looked at any of the released documents or spreadsheets about how much they were paying each wrestler, they were dead after 90.
Well, I have a friend that knows
to death.
Well, I think even Mookie said I think that the reason why they were alive for so much longer is because they just had so many 3-year deals in arenas.
Correct. They were able to, and I think the TV contract probably as far as when it was played a part in that because they were just spending themselves to death on wrestling talent.
I still can't believe
all their talent. A lot of the top guys were just making absurd money.
Well, and the thing about like Macho Man wasn't even getting paid by the company because like Slim Jim was paying most of it because he was the sponsor guy.
That's right. And speaking of Macho Man, his brother,
the late great Lanny Poffo got like a $200,000. It's a sit home and do nothing.
He never had a match. As I recall, he never had a match on WCW television. I could be wrong. I
don't think he even had a dark match. I don't think he wrestled, period.
He was going to come in. I saw a promo picture of him from that time. He'd gotten his hair blonde again, like it was back in the the Genius, back when he was just Leaping Lanny.
And was he going to be Leaping? He was going to be Leaping. He was going to be Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Yeah, I think they were going to bring him back that way, and it never happened. And
I don't think he gave a shit.
Actually, my favorite example of Turner paying so many of these people from WCW just to sit at home was Colonel Rob Parker. He was on the creative team, and then he quit the creative team in '95. He got paid until the end.
Yeah. And he seems like I would love to talk to that guy because he seems just like a nice guy.
He seems like a fun guy. Not to mention just all the stories from even
That's
forget
for that
WCW,
alone.
just from the
Wrestling-
territory days.
Yes, I've tried to reach out to
Tons.
him, like I'm like, hey, because I think it's like Robert Fulton's his real name. It's like I would love to have him on just to talk story.
Tons of stuff that he would have.
There's a
it's
few athletes
funny
on
or
my wall.
informative or crazy.
Yeah, there's a couple guys on my wall I wouldn't mind having, like that guy right there. I would love to have on. By the way, the one like I'm pointing to right above me, this one straight up, right above Matt Barkley and I. That's Pat LaFontaine.
Ah, nice.
Story time with him was amazing when I met him.
Cool.
Like I was like running late for this autograph session with him and Rick Jenneret, which I have a picture somewhere of him and I. But
Somewhere on the wall.
yeah, but not just the autograph one we talked about earlier, but yeah, it was like I'm like shit, I'm gonna be late. Like it started at 6. I got there like at 7:15. There was like 3 people in line left. I'm like, sorry. I'm like, first I'm like, I'm sorry I'm late, Rick. He of course he's like, yeah, story of my life. It happens, man. Don't worry about it. He was the nicest, funniest like old man ever.
Awesome.
And then I got in line for Pat LaFontaine. There was like 10 people in the line, like, and he just busts out story time with Pat.
Sweet.
He's well, I go to him like when I'm getting my photo signed with him, and he's like, and I go to him, you know what's crazy? It's like I've like 2 weeks prior, I met Dominic Hasek.
Whew, nice.
And he goes like, you did? He's like, you know what kind of asshole that guy was in practice? I'm like, of course, I'm like, okay, I'll bite. What do you mean, Pat?
Yeah.
He's like, that son of a bitch would stonewall us in practice.
Yeah. I can see
Like,
that.
he's like, we take like 300 shots on goal. He lets 2 in
Yep.
practice.
Yep.
He's like, he had no sense of humor about anything.
I can see
Like,
that from a guy like Hasek. I could definitely see that.
But it was just so funny. He's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I may have gotten like 2 in like in 6 years.
Like life with Hasek.
Yeah. He was basically like, yeah, he's like, do your worst. It's like all the players on the Sabres. He's like McGinley couldn't get in, I couldn't get in, our dad couldn't get in. He's like named up like everyone on the team. Like, yeah, no, who's gonna get a goal on by Hasek? And we're just doing a light like shoot around practice, and he's not letting anything in.
Wow.
I'm like, what a dick, but I'm like, I'm like, oh, that's how he got so good.
Well, exactly. Well, to close
I don't think,
out tonight,
yeah.
I got something for you. I got a question. Do you remember the first time when we started our first podcast back in 2015? Do you remember what the
Man, we've been doing this shit for 8 years.
isn't that something?
God damn it.
The
Make me
first
feel old.
episode we ever did. Do you remember what the top story and thus the first story we ever talked about was? Because I do.
Who died?
Nope, it wasn't a death.
Really? Well, that's the first.
It was. Our first story was Tyson Fury beating Vladimir Klitschko to win the
Oh
heavyweight.
my God. Really?
That's
Was
right.
that?
That was the
Shit.
first story. I remember that. And I figure that's a great
Oh, yeah, because he failed the Coke test, like for Coke. Right
That's
after.
right. And it's a good thing to come
Shit.
back to because on Friday,
Wait, you got Coke?
that Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk apparently have agreed to fight April 29th at Wembley Stadium to unify all 4 heavyweight championship belts and produce the first undisputed heavyweight champion in the 4-belt era and the first undisputed heavyweight champion period in 20 years.
So you're saying we should go to London?
If the bout even happens, because we've been boxing,
No.
we've been down this road before. Apparently it was a 70-30 split for Fury. Fury's going to make somewhere in the neighborhood, apparently, of about 50 mil, which means Usyk's going to make around 20. And I'm excited about the possibility of an undisputed champion finally in the heavyweight division.
I hope there is one.
My only thing is, not only do I think Usyk is going to win this fight, I'm actually hoping that he does, because if Fury wins, I will guarantee that if Fury wins, we will have an undisputed champion for about 5 minutes before he retires, and the entire thing is splintered for another 2 decades. At least with Usyk, you have the a better likelihood that he's going to fight again, even though he's not young either. And it wouldn't surprise me if a guy like him would think about retirement after a win like that as well, considering he unified all 4 cruiserweight belts before moving up to heavyweight and on his current path towards that. But I hope it happens because boxing needs something like this as far as a big fight actually happening. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence were supposed to fight last November, which might be the biggest fight that boxing can produce right now. That hasn't happened and probably isn't going to happen this year. Gervonta Davis is fighting Ryan Garcia in April, and De La Hoya, my brother said he must be back on the coke because he made Mayweather Canelo comparisons. And in the boxing world, Gervonta and Ryan Garcia is a mega fight. To the mainstream public,
they don't give a shit.
No, nobody knows Ryan Garcia really, and they know because of his arrest record.
Funny you mentioned that because I was just going to mention Davis Garcia. You got the words out of my mouth. They sold out the T-Mobile Center in 5 minutes.
I'm not surprised. In the boxing world, and especially in a city like that, you're going to have, first of all, at T-Mobile, great Mexican audience for boxing in Vegas.
God, yeah.
And then you got your general fight fans. They know all about Tank Davis. So I'm not surprised by that. But for pay-per-view numbers and mainstream appeal, the idea of an undisputed heavyweight champion, I think,
that's
for the sport. Huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually happened. And I hope it does. I hope the fight actually, my one thing about it is that, okay, April 29th, I mean, I hope they've already been in training because that's 6 weeks away. And most training camps
are months,
are 8 to 12 weeks. So it'll be interesting. And Fury has
really that's our first show
about trying him. Fury's had a thing in recent years about getting out of fights.
Yes.
Here he was suddenly we were going to get Fury Joshua, and then he set some arbitrary, pulled out of his ass data. If they don't agree by then, and it was his out to say, I tried and they didn't. And I think that's why he threw the 70-30 suggestion out there, because Usyk had always wanted 50-50 or even 60-40. I'm guessing he was thinking, well, if I say 70-30, this guy's going to say no. And then I can say, well, I tried. He's a coward, doesn't want it. And Usyk basically went online and said, okay, I'm calling your bluff. I'll take it. You donate $1 million to the Ukraine war effort, and I'll take your 70-30 split. So here we are, and hopefully the fight will happen.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's the first time we talked about Klitschko. God, that seems like that feels like a lifetime and a half ago. It's 8 years ago.
And Fury's definitely lived a lifetime or two in the time since that fight as well.
That's being nice.
Yeah. Pretty crazy though. That was the first story we did, because we thought at the time, boy, that's the big up in the fight world. Nothing's going to really top that. And then the very next day after that broadcast, Holly Holm knocks out Ronda Rousey, and we got another big fight story the next week.
and then for the next 6 months, F1 died every week.
Yeah, I remember there's a unfortunate rash of deaths.
We did have a couple. We did have a couple of deaths this week too. If you didn't see, like Bud Grant passed away at 95.
Bud Grant yesterday. I knew he shouldn't have worn short sleeves in that negative 20-degree playoff game 10 years ago. I knew he shouldn't have.
Yeah, you have to say, you idiot. That was like 10 years ago. I don't think it affected him that much.
Took time. Death works slowly.
Okay, if Reggie froze him, he thought out and had a heart attack. Got it.
Exactly. But yeah, I did see that.
Did you see Arn Anderson's son died?
Yeah, 37.
Yeah,
going to be 37 in the fall. So not something.
I'm gonna be 40 in July. How healthy I feel.
There we go. That's a shame. Just a damn shame.
I mean, Arn's already a little out there as it is. This is gonna make him way worse.
Yeah.
I think that whole Gab promo in Rochester he did with Cody, I don't think that's anything like that's like. I think that's Arn being Arn.
Yeah, that was good though. Glock.
Yeah.
Funny.
I was like, well, that escalated quickly. All right, thanks.
Yeah. But
Jesus Christ.
too bad. It's a shame, especially so young. It's just, yeah. But it's yeah, it's been a long time. And that I thought that was a great time. It just worked out great that yeah, that was our first story. And it's kind of come not full circle in a way, but it's just pretty amazing that the opportunity presented itself like that.
Yeah, that is crazy. It's 8 years already.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know my co-host usually Marilee is like, I mean, she's wants to do a show. She's had like a lot of family issues. She's talked to me a little
Mhm.
about. Like we've been talking like hit or miss. I've just been checking in, make sure she's doing okay. Like she wants to do a show. We'll see when we're doing one.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
I,
I'm
I do
always down.
keep the draft night open. You're always welcome on.
Well, I'll see. Yeah, work schedule and
You should just take you need to take off just to see it because I'll invite Nick and Ben and have them bitch at each other for like 25 minutes. It's
that
worth
was
every
funny.
second.
Last year, I did go on
God,
highlights.
I had to mute my mic because I was laughing too hard.
Yeah, it's probably better that I was not a mic at that time because I can be a pretty good instigator when I want to be, and that would have
You didn't need to be. That was the best part.
yeah, but that would have been a situation where I wouldn't have been able to help myself. Like,
Like I said, you didn't need any help. They were just like they were off to the races themselves.
yeah, but yeah, if anytime, man. It was great talking. Great talking
Yeah,
today. Got a lot.
we'll do another show soon. Maybe next time we'll be on video.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Yep. See you, dude.
Take it easy.